Was there a Justin Fields highlight last night for play of the day?
Well, there was that Justin.
I didn't watch a play. When you say there was that,
I'm thinking Justin Herbert. My bad. Sorry.
I didn't watch a play of him either.
There's a clip that's surfacing on Twitter of him throwing a ball like right next to Trayvon Diggs' helmet, right into the hands of Mike Williams. Trayvon Diggs just
Gotcha.
stood
That's
there.
a practice throw then.
Yes, it is a practice.
Yeah, there was only one quote-unquote game last night.
Yeah, true.
Pujols with a slam.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, 690, yeah.
See if you can find that.
I will.
You've got an hour.
And 20 minutes.
Albert. If he gets to 700, that would be insane.
That would be awesome. I just want him to get to 697.
Pass A-Rod?
Yep.
Yeah, screw A-Rod. Disappoints me every time I drive past the campus of UM and see Alex Rodriguez Field.
Which is interesting because he never went there.
Exactly.
And I know he's from there, and I know he would have gone there.
But he didn't.
Also, to be honest, I'm not impressed with the stadium.
Mark Light Stadium?
Yeah, not at all.
It's really nothing special, to be honest.
No. And considering what the University of Miami baseball program was for 40 years, from the 70s through like the 2010s,
it'd be better.
I thought they'd play in like a palace.
The problem with Mark Light Stadium is that it's in a really tight area.
No, I know.
Like really tight.
I know, but
you can still I agree with you, frankly. Like,
I mean, the grandstands, to be honest with you, you feel like you're at like just a big, well-kept Little League field.
Yeah, or like a high school field.
Yeah.
It honestly does feel like a high school field. Because, you got the track and field in left center, you got the parking garage in right center, and then you got
right.
Yeah.
You're at a street corner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
yeah. Like hell, Tampa has a way better stadium. If we're comparing private Florida colleges.
I'd like to apologize for what I've done wrong. However, I really have never done anything wrong. Look at Jimmy Bird bringing his Deshaun Watson at 5:57 a.m. Well played. Well played, Jimmy. By the way, halftime.
Did you leave?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. I took Bill and Ed to the airport and got back to the hotel in early fourth quarter.
Wait a minute. They flew out last night?
Yep. And so did Joe and Troy.
Well, I figured that.
Yeah.
So were Joe and Troy ever on the mic?
Not on the air. No, we were. Yeah, we were all on headsets and we were broadcasting. But for us, it was a dress rehearsal.
Gotcha.
And it was really done more for all the technical stuff. There were a lot of people there last night. Whew, man. Booth was crowded.
They'll still pack up Century Lake, even.
Will that be the case all the time?
No, because you had the two crews, but also just everybody was like, wanting to meet everybody. And how are you guys? Is there anything we can do to help?
All right, we're starting here.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you from the Pacific Northwest to Southwest Florida and all points in between. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this Football Friday. That's right. It's a Football Friday, even though it's the last Friday leading into a weekend without football that counts in the standings. It's a Football Friday, right, Mark?
Absolutely. If it takes 3 preseason games to get there, David, it's a Football Friday.
Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. So got a good night's sleep. Got about 6 hours.
Good for you.
Yeah, I feel great. Fired up, ready to go.
I'm going to, confess to you here, David. I didn't watch a play of the game that you were at.
Well, I only watched a half. So, you're not that much behind me. And let me tell you, the half that I watched, the Seattle Seahawks looked to be about the worst team you could put together. Holy mackerel. Whew. Even for preseason, you're like, damn. And Fields only played one drive. So, whatever. Unfortunately, there was a major injury. The Seahawks left guard looked as if he suffered a really bad lower right leg injury. So 8th play of the game for the Seahawks. It's the conundrum that is preseason football right there. You're trying to work on something. Their first 2 drives, they'd gone 3 and out. So Pete Carroll's leaving them in. Can we just get one drive, feel a little good about ourselves? And 8th offensive play, they probably lose the starter for the season. That's preseason football right there, Mark. What's the only thing that counts in August?
Injuries, and this is a bad team who has to try to play guys trying to find some continuity. And you're right, David. That is the problem with preseason, because 2 teams last night are going to be bad. These are 2 teams last night where there were jobs being fought for. I mean, there was a legit. The true essence of preseason football really is played out when you have a Bears-Seahawks game, because there are jobs on the line.
Yes, there are guys that were playing late 3rd quarter and in the 4th quarter that, quite frankly, could be starting in 3 weeks. That's how much these rosters are in turmoil. It was what preseason football used to be about. But, Mark, what a football day yesterday. All of it off the field.
Every part of it. It started right at the end of our broadcast when word came out that the Big Ten finally inked their media deal with Fox, CBS, and NBC to the tune of $1 billion.
At least a season. And the caveat, open-ended, that there's more coming. Not only in terms of money, but we're not done expanding. That's what somebody prominently in the Big Ten office said yesterday publicly. We're not done expanding. Oh, righty then. Let the rumors begin.
And then finally we get a conclusion on the Deshaun Watson case, 11 games. And David, don't ever try to tell anybody that the NFL doesn't have a sense of humor.
I know right where you're going.
Who's the 12th game on that Browns schedule?
It's week 13 because there's a bye week in there, and it happens to be in Houston.
Yeah,
So Deshaun Watson's first ever game as a Cleveland Brown will be where?
In Houston.
Correct. Almost 2 full years to the day since he last played a game. I mean, it is amazing how long he will have been out. One full season in which he and the Texans agreed, you should stay home. We'll send you the $10 million. Do the checks still go to the same place? Okay, thank you. And then this year, the agreement on 11, one factor that we didn't take into the equation, Mark, which we should have, is that you need to have 6 games/weeks in a season in order for the season to essentially count. They call it tolling. If the suspension had been 12 games or more, his $1 million salary from this year actually would have been his salary next year. And so that's why Watson would never agree to more than 11. Then this year counts. He gets credit seniority wise. His financial terms for this year count. And we begin anew next year, which for him is a $46 million salary, not a $1 million salary. Because also the Browns probably don't want to have to cut him another $45 million check next year. So there you have it. Did it strike you, even though we, 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, we talked at length about the Big Ten deal. We even did a poll question in terms of, did the Big Ten make a mistake by leaving ESPN? But we both kept holding out, not the hope, but the possibility that, they could still make a basketball deal. I know football's all that anybody talks about, cares about, and that's where most of the money is. But, they could still do a basketball deal. They may not totally divorce themselves of one another. Guess what? It's a complete divorce.
No, it was a divorce with the doors slamming on both sides, quite frankly, David, because you're right. ESPN, if you're into college basketball, ESPN's where college basketball is played. I know that CBS has some games on the weekend, and I know FS1's had some games on, but ESPN's where you find your college hoop.
Yes.
And it'll be interesting, to say the very least, how that divorce affects the Big Ten and the talk about the Big Ten for tournament teams, for bids, things of that nature, because the juice of the sport still comes from the 4-letter network.
And it now will be interesting. Will people begin to turn to FS1 all over the country, in sports bars all over the country? As we all know, you walk into a sports bar. Now in Florida, there's the possibility of another channel being on. It's the Golf Channel. But for the most part, it's the ESPN family of networks and the Golf Channel. That's what's on. Very rarely, unless there is a specific game, do sports bars just come in, grab the clickers, and start putting on FS1 on multiple screens. Usually a customer has to come in and go, hey, believe it or not, there's a game on. Oh, okay. And obviously it would start with college football season, because they're going to have more Big Ten games than they've ever had before. And then into college basketball season. Will this be something we look back on, Mark, 10, 15 years from now and go, I know they'd been around for a while and they televised things, etc. But, what made me, when I'm home, start to turn on FS1 instead of turning on ESPN was when they got Big Ten basketball or Big Ten football. Now, it may not do it in the state of Florida, although goodness knows there are a lot of people from Big Ten country who have relocated to Florida. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that I-75 heads straight down here, David. I don't know if you're aware. People jump on and don't get off that sucker.
Well, and Mark, basically, we could rename the Florida Sports Network the Big Ten Affiliate Network.
Right.
I mean, Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, Venice, Southwest Florida. I mean, we're that corridor, baby.
Right. What Big Ten annoys you the most, Florida fan? That's not Ohio State. Leave them out of this.
Right. Yeah, they're their own area code in terms of performance and angst. But so one divorce made official, and one, not a divorce, but a punishment made official yesterday. Even though we had it narrowed down to, we were thinking 10 to 12. they split the baby there. All right. And then, we were led to believe a week and a half ago that, hey, this is going to be the deal. Then when it's announced officially and you do the math as to how much per school it is, which doesn't count, by the way, bowl game revenue. It doesn't count NCAA tournament revenue. I don't even think it counts Big Ten network revenue.
I don't believe it does either.
So, it's over 70 per school per year. And we ain't counting some of the other stuff. And you could see why the number could get really close to 100 per season per school. Probably will be in the low 90s.
Man, are there going to be some lazy rivers in Big Ten country?
Those athletic
locker
dorms
rooms are going to have locker rooms.
Yes, Mark. Those athletic dorms will get an upgrade.
You know what we need at Iowa? A new golf facility. That's what we need.
Yeah. So there you have it. A couple of the big stories from yesterday.
Enormous.
I don't. How about this potential poll question? We probably won't go there because we kind of sort of did go there, at least in the discussion a week and a half ago. But if you think this Big Ten deal without ESPN is a mistake, more of a mistake for which entity? The conference or the network?
I think for the network. I think you're talking about the most alumni that there are in the country in that conference. And the Big Ten fan is a loyal fan. And they'll shut off ESPN just because. I think that ESPN missed the boat here. And I think the Big Ten wanted them to miss the boat.
I just find it funny for all the people that complain that ESPN's too liberal and too political and what have you. Well, most of the Big Ten is left of center politically. All right. So you would think that those parts of the country would like the four-letter network. And the part of the country that's really red and that in theory would be very anti-ESPN happens to be the part of the country in which ESPN is completely in bed with athletically. I love the dichotomy.
It is fascinating to say the very least, but it will see how it plays out in the moments ahead. Adam Rittenberg will talk about it, as well as Pat Kirwan to talk NFL on the show today. The starting 5 in 20 minutes on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
For a poll question, I was going to say, 11 games. How many games of Jacoby Brissett do you think he'll win? 3?
Be a great poll question in Cleveland.
All right, a couple things here. Yes, very. I held off on the second one till today. You need to make your $20 on 2 Diet Cokes spread out. Disney didn't want to commit. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't believe everything you heard about ESPN's offer to the Big Ten and what have you. ESPN all but admitted we didn't have the money and we didn't have the inventory to even compete with the Big Ten.
I bet you by week 11, they're 3-7-1.
I don't know. The beginning of their schedule's pretty soft.
So Deshaun Watson was suspended 11 games. What do you think of the suspension? Too many games, too few games, just right?
Mm-hmm.
It's up. It's done. It's over.
Bada bing, bada boom. Also, I forget who in the chat room was talking about ESPN's going to have to pony up for the SEC.
They already did.
That deal was done 20 months ago.
Yeah, it's done.
I mean, it's strange that the SEC did the deal that early because this deal with CBS still has 2 more football seasons to go. I mean, ESPN doesn't get full control of the SEC until August of 2024. No, and that's another thing as to, why did the SEC do the deal so early? I mean, think about now if the SEC said, well, okay, now that the Big Ten is settled, we're next. Who wants to bid? And what do you want? Yeah, I mean, I think, Coffin Ball, that I think the SEC and ESPN helped make Kevin Warren's job easy and look good. I mean, obviously CBS isn't good. No network would go dark in this day and age if they didn't have to. Right? Exactly, KW. Exactly. I mean, Mahomes is already 4th in terms of annual salary for a quarterback. Yeah, Jeff, it is going to be fun. Obviously, 3:30. What I think is going to happen is the first 2 weeks when CBS can't show SEC games, I think CBS will do a 3:30 game weeks 1 and 2 next year. And then CBS will do 4 to 5 either noon and or primetime games. Like if Notre Dame has a primetime game on NBC, CBS that week may do a Big Ten game in primetime. So that'll probably be 1 or 2 games a year. Well, RCB, you could.
Albert hits it out to deep left. It is gone. It's a grand slam.
Perfect.
Come back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? It's a Football Friday edition of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Adam Rittenberg, who covers college sports, but predominantly the Big Ten for the four-letter network, will join us coming up in a little more than an hour. And Pat Kirwan will join us for not one but two segments beginning at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. So there. And not only that, this is the week that we got our act together, finally, and we started getting poll questions up when poll questions are supposed to be up, really early in the show.
How long do you think this lasts?
I actually think, we're older guys and, it takes us a while to get in the habit, but once you get in the habit, I actually think we'll do this. I do. It's just comical that you and I have done 15 years of radio and not one, not two, but 3 acts. And it was only damn near a full year into our 3rd act that the two of us could actually get together and go, if you're going to do a poll question, you probably should have the poll question, really early in the show as opposed to maybe halfway through it. This way people may actually vote on the damn thing.
God, I don't think my voice was like that at all when I suggested this last week.
I was combining the two of us so that it was predominantly, more me than you.
Man, I thought that was a much more pleasant conversation in my head, it was a lot more pleasant, but that's all right. Somehow everything falls back to the banana in the tailpipe.
Mark, I didn't take it as an unpleasant conversation. I just took it as it was more bewilderment.
Now there is some there. When all of a sudden we start talking about how to fix the show midway through the show. So, you know what?
Right.
Dadgum, good point, David. But
I mean, if we can produce the show 1/3 to halfway through it, okay, we could also produce, our career, so to speak. Although we're probably a little more than halfway through it.
So yesterday's poll question, because David mentioned he was part of the Monday Night Football entourage. Which entourage would you most want to be a part of, musician, actor, or athlete? Musician did win 50% of the vote, athlete with 32% of the vote, actor getting the rest. I think we might have got that wrong. Just saying.
Really? You
Look,
think you'd go athlete?
No, I think I'd go actor. Musician, there's a lot of greatness that can happen. A lot of fun, a lot of stories that you'd want to tell for years and years and years.
Yes.
And I still think that's a winner, but people picking athlete over actor. Athlete has a bad game. I mean, you're part of Kevin Durant's entourage. It's one of the richest athletes on the planet.
Uh-huh.
He's moody. He has a bad day. He has a bad game. When does an actor really have a bad day? I mean, you read the line wrong. You know what you get to do? Read it again.
Well, I guess you could not get certain roles,
Okay.
Accept a role that doesn't go well. Now you're part of a dud. I just think that, quite frankly, actors and actresses are not held in as high a regard as they used to be. I think in part because they've gotten political and we're so polarized as a country. So now you got half the people out there not liking an actor or an actress if they've gotten political, because there's a 50% chance they're on the wrong side of their politics. You and I don't give about their politics.
Nope. Don't care what the musicians' politics are. Don't care what the athletes'
No.
politics are. Don't care what the actors' politics are.
No.
Don't care. Love and I don't care that they profess their politics. It's never bothered me that they have a microphone and they use it. It doesn't affect me. It's not my go-to for how I'm going to make my decisions.
So what's our poll question today?
Deshaun Watson. I mean, we've got to go back to this one more time, David.
It's our last chance.
That's it. was suspended 11 games. What do you think of the suspension? Too many games, too few games, or it was just right?
There you go. The porridge question one more time. Considering they suspended him twice. So if you're thinking, wait a minute, didn't they ask this? Well, yeah, when it was 6, but now it's 11. So it's a totally different question. Damn near doubled this sucker. Hey, this is my nomination. I'm almost going third person here, but I'm just wondering, with this is an attempt at humor coming up. Just want to give the disclaimer out there in case it doesn't work. Since the NFL has a sense of humor, or the way things just worked out, that Deshaun Watson's first game back will be in Houston. Okay. Does that mean that Deshaun, leading up to the game, will know where to go for a massage? Hello. Oh, hell. Oh, starting early today.
Damn!
No, it's too soon.
Does Cleveland then stay at the same hotel where Deshaun had a room?
Do they fly in day of? I mean, just whew. That's all. Just
Deshaun gets into the hotel. I know this floor very well.
I was going to say, can you leave Deshaun alone on a Saturday night in Houston? It seems to be where these whole problems started, right? Hello. All righty then. Just had to get that off my chest. Started a little early, Ed. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So, Miller and Moulton. I think, by the way, the Browns season's over. I really do. It's the AFC. I don't even know if 10's going to be enough. It'll probably have to be the right 10 for someone to get in. Raiders got in with 10 last year. The year before, 10 was not enough because Miami had 10 and everyone else had 11 or more. So I'm thinking, if you're a fan of an AFC team, the number's 11. Well, I don't see how with Deshaun Watson missing 11 out of 17 games that the Browns can get to 11. Maybe they can get the right 10, and the first part of their schedule is the softest. But I'd say it again. Jacoby Brissett's not the answer. And to me, if that's what they're going to do, then this season's over.
And don't you think, they could go get Jimmy G today, but they're running out of time to be able to get Jimmy G and get him up to speed and get him ready for week 1. You're simply running out of time.
But I'll tell you what, if I get him, and if I'm not wanting to pay his $24.5 million, because if you trade for him now, you have to assume his salary. So let's just say they're trying to get him, and they're trying to get him for a lot less. So they'll wait till he's released. Okay. But what if he's ready for week 2 or week 3? What if he inherits a 1-1 team and now he's got 9 games? And I think that with Jimmy G, I'll go 6-3. Well, now you're handing the ball to Deshaun at 7-4. Now you got a shot to make the playoffs.
Absolutely. But you are running out of time.
Yep.
This needs to be done now. I don't understand why it wasn't done already. I don't know what Cleveland was really thinking in that, hey, he suspended 6 and we think that's all it's going to be. Nobody in their right mind thought it was going to be a 6-game suspension.
No. But the Browns did. And the Browns were trying to not create a circus. And okay, fine. But now, beginning today, you just have to pretend as if Deshaun has a major injury and we're hoping to get him back after Thanksgiving, and you need to find his replacement. And you worry about having too many people at that position after Thanksgiving. That's how you and I would operate things if we were the Browns. It does not appear at all as if they're going to operate that way.
We will find out in the coming days if they're going to make a move. But right now, Jacoby Brissett is their guy. And that seems to me to be a team fighting for 4th place in the AFC North, not fighting for a division title. Miller and Moulton, the starting five, coming up on the other side. We'll talk Big Ten football with Adam Rittenberg, and we'll talk NFL with Pat Kirwan. Still coming up on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Rick, it's a great point because he looked absolutely horrible in the preseason game. Looked just a mess, and he won't practice now the entire time.
Well, he can start practicing like 3 or 4 weeks before he can come back.
Right.
Like he's allowed back 5 or so weeks, 6 weeks in. He's allowed to come back, be around the team, work out, the whole deal. He's allowed to start practicing like 3 weeks before.
Did you see the Dodgers announcer, what he did?
Yeah. Hysterical.
He hit that thing hard.
Absolutely hysterical. Garcia Parra and Joe Davis could barely speak. They were laughing so hard when they came back to him on camera. The tweet I saw was somebody who said 90% of movies don't end this well. You're right, Jimmy Bird. You are correct. Yeah, I mean, KW, I think we're all. What's the likelihood that Deshaun's going to step in when he steps in and look like he did 2-3 years ago with the Texans? Not good. I mean, he's going to be probably the pitcher coming back from Tommy John who misses nearly 2 full seasons. And he gets in what he gets in late in that second year, and then he'll have a full off season again in spring training, and then he's ready. I just don't think you can throw away a year in the NFL. Sorry. Don't care what problems it causes. I also think, to be honest, the Browns' ownership and management need to do it for their fan base. You're putting your fans through a lot here. You're asking them to cheer for a guy that most people find unseemly right now. The least you could do is, because it's not only doing better than Jacoby Brissett. I mean, look who's backing up Jacoby Brissett. It's a disaster. Look at ugly bag of water there. Proud of yourself for that line? It's pretty, that's solid. That is. I mean, it's obvious.
Well,
that's solid.
Though Deshaun gave himself a happy ending most of the time.
What?
Well, it's a football Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Don't hold anything back. Well, that's true, Adam. And imagine if that one woman doesn't settle. So he'll come back and play the final 6 games, and then and then he'll go to court.
Did you see the Rays announcer say Jose Siri and then his Hey Siri activated?
I did not.
Ten seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Man, these magic numbers, Mark. 8, 13, and 20. 8, 13, and 20. Your magic numbers as to when the football season starts, depending on, when you think it starts. Does it start a week from tomorrow with week 0? Nebraska, Northwestern, the headliner in Dublin. The nightcap. Can an SEC team win when leaving the mainland? Vandy at Hawaii. Hello. And then 13 days from now, 2 weeks from yesterday, Pitt, West Virginia, kicking off the 5-day week 1 extravaganza. That is the beginning of the college football season. I have to admit, I love how college football starts their year. If that's what you consider to be the start of the year, it's not 1 day, it's not 2 days, it's 5. We're laying out games over 5 days, Thursday through a Monday night, baby.
It is the great thing. NFL experimented 1 year with Labor Day. It didn't go well. College football seems to have it. My freshman year in college, I had not even started college yet. Michigan State played USC on Labor Day in East Lansing at night. It was a huge event. You get fired up for those games. If you get the one-off on Labor Day, it's a big deal. Not to mention you and I ecstatic because it's Pitt and West Virginia to start the season.
Yeah, backyard brawl. These are the games that college athletics needs to have. The games that the teams want to play, that their fan bases want to see played. They would rather lose the game than not play the game. When you have a rivalry like that, I think you have to do everything possible to keep it. And there are probably a couple dozen of those rivalries that are out there in which truly the fan bases would rather lose the game than not play the game. And college sports seems to be, well, they don't think about that at all because it's, these rivalry games could get in the way of the money. And then we got to have the money. Sorry, you guys don't count. You fans don't count. I mean, you don't. I mean, we pay you lip service, but then we ask you for a seat licensing fee and a donation just to be able to sit in the seats and play somebody who you don't even want to see us play. That's what we think of you.
But get there early and buy a polo.
Right. Yes. And while you're here, make sure you support the official sponsor of... Right. It is time for...
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Deshaun Watson and the NFL reached a settlement. It is important to note this was a negotiated deal between Deshaun, the NFLPA, and the NFL. The Browns quarterback receives an 11-game suspension. He pays a $5 million fine. He has to go, pay attention, it's very wordy, undergo mandatory evaluation by behavioral experts and then likely treatment. His suspension begins August 30th. Because that's cut down day where teams have to be down to 53. That's when he goes on the suspended list. You must leave the building. His first game back, no joke, week 13. That's 11 games in a bye week. Week 13, Browns at Texans. Oh, boy. Tampa Bay head coach Todd Bowles, did you catch his answer? Very simple question. Very simple question. Hey, when's Brady coming back? Quote, we'll see. Unquote. Oh, okay. I mean, I asked the question, Coach, because thought it was a layup. Just thought I'd give you one there. You said it was Saturday you play the Titans, and then he's coming back right afterwards. I would assume the day after Saturday, Sunday. So I figured that'd be the answer. Practice then on Monday, right? No, we'll see. He's attending to some personal things. We've talked. We talk like every other day. Don't worry. This was talked about before training camp. There's nothing to see here, guys. There's nothing to see here. Okay. Got to admit, I mean, I don't think it's a big deal. I really don't. But it is highly unusual. I mean, come on. We've had holdouts where guys show up a week before opening day and they play fine. College football doesn't have any preseason. I mean, it seems to
No, but for a guy who is known as the hardest worker, first in, last out, meets everybody on the team, is instrumental in the whole team building process. I mean, these are the things we found out in the last years, is that how important he is to every part of this process. To just disappear is, you're right, highly unusual, David.
Yeah. I think that's a fair category to put it in. Don't want to misrepresent the situation at all. Hey, I don't know if you heard, but the Big Ten officially divorced themselves from ESPN yesterday. Doesn't begin for another year. So you'll see your Big Ten football and basketball for one more year on ESPN and the family of networks. But then after that, baby, well, just think about all the other networks that do sports. That's where you'll see the Big Ten. Fox and FS1, CBS, NBC, and Peacock. That's the streaming service that apparently the Big Ten is willing to put games on. Both football and basketball, up to 8 football games and up to about 12.5 basketball games.
So Northwestern, Rutgers, and Indiana alum, get ready for Peacock.
Maybe the most controversial part of this whole deal, and CBS made sure to let everybody know, the theme music is with CBS. It's not with the conference. So, yes, that's right. For those that love that theme song, it will be with Big Ten football. You have to admit, Mark, we're we're a pretty funny nation. I mean, we really are. You know, the things that are important yesterday with the deal, and the most important question that the sports world wanted to know. Yeah, okay, whatever. We know the channels.
We'll
find
find the damn games, David.
Right. I know it's a big deal to you guys, and they're going to get a lot of money in the whole deal, and blah 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 blah. The theme song that CBS uses for the SEC on CBS, does that stay with the SEC or does that go with the Big Ten? Oh, well, no, it goes with the network, so they're going to use that for the Big Ten. What? Just SEC fans like I don't even think I like CBS, but damn it, wait, that song's theirs. It's not ours. What? Hold on a second. You mean to tell me when Wisconsin and Minnesota play for the Axe, they're going to run out of the field underneath that damn song? Oh, man, this ain't right. This ain't right. There you go. That's that kicker part of the divorce, right?
That is the trade kicker right there, David.
That's the, wait a minute, hold on a second. You want the lawnmower? What? Wait a minute. You want the house in Vail 3 weeks a year? What? No.
I love it when Moulton goes rich.
Because I have no concept of
None
all.
whatsoever.
Zip, zilch,
The house
nada.
in Vail for 3 weeks. I don't even know where this crap comes from. It's like somewhere the hamster starts spinning really fast and spits out the house in Vail, and Moulton says, I'm going to run with it.
Mark, I think I saw it on Dynasty, Knots Landing back in the day. You know, that's the only, lifestyles of the rich and famous. I mean, Mark, you know what I have in my head as I'm trying to come up with something rich? Champagne wishes and caviar dreams.
Thank you, Mr. Leach.
So it's 7 years for those that are counting at home. So it's the rest of the decade in terms of football season when it begins next year. It's 2023 through 2029. If you see 2030, that's basketball included in it. Most of you don't care. But also one other interesting tidbit is how they divvied up the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State, Michigan will always be on Fox. That's more important than the Big Ten championship game. Fox made sure they're like, no, we're not giving anybody that game. Game's ours.
The universities want that game played at noon as well.
So that game's on Fox. But the Big Ten title game, 4-2-1 is the distribution. Fox will have 4 of the 7 Big Ten championship games. CBS will get 2 and NBC will get 1. And this is just me reading into it from afar, I believe that shows kind of the priority level as to what deal is what. So that now there are times when the 3:30 game will be the C game that week. There will. But I think based on Big Ten title games, the Big Ten is kind of showing their colors in terms of the A game will be largely at noon and the B game will be largely at 3:30. And then we got a lot of quality teams. We got Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, USC. We can put a sexy game on at 7:30, 8 o'clock. So the C game will be pretty damn good. But I think they kind of showed their colors as to most weeks how the games will lay out by how they determine who's doing the Big Ten title games. Baseball, Rays with 5 in the 7th beat the Royals 7-1. So much for all that, momentum the Yankees were going to get, that big grand slam walk-off by Donaldson. Yeah, Toronto bombed them 9-2. Springer went 5 for 5, and Vladdy Jr. with the 3-run homer.
The momentum kind of left when Vlad hit that one out of the park to me.
Well, what's that they say in baseball? Momentum's next day starting pitcher. It kind of works that way. Pirates 8-2 over the Red Sox. Boston goes below 500. Orioles lose a makeup game at home to the Cubs. Ouch, 3-2. Speaking of 3-2, Braves beat the Mets by that score. They took 3 out of 4 in the big series. They're 3.5 games back, 4 in the loss column. Also, the season series is 9-7 Mets. They've got 3 games left in Atlanta. Remember, we don't play Monday tiebreakers anymore. season series results determine who owns the tiebreaker. So the Braves not only may need to sweep that series to win the East, but they'll need to sweep that series the final week of the year to win the season series.
Really would like the Braves to win the first 2 of that series. So much just so that everything's riding on that last game would be great.
And have this maybe season be tied with 4 to play, and then they're playing that final game in Atlanta. Yeah. Houston 21-5 over the White Sox. Unbelievable. Man, Bregman with 2 homers, 2 doubles, 6 RBIs. Cardinals 13-0 over Colorado.
Broncos just couldn't get it going on offense.
No, they really couldn't. Okay. And Kurt Warner and the Rams just handed the ball off to Falk all day and just grinded one out. Pujols with a big day, a homer and 5 RBIs. Milwaukee beat the Dodgers 5-3 to remain 3 back of the Cardinals. Arizona shut out the Giants 5-0. San Fran falls back to 500. Texas 10-3 over Oakland, and the Nats last night 3-1 over San Diego. Mark, the Rays and Jays are tied for the 5-6 seed in the American League, and they're a half a game ahead of the Twins and game and a half ahead of Baltimore. There you go. Atlanta's the 4, Philly the 5, Padres the 6. Milwaukee's a game back of San Diego for the final playoff spot in the National League. Nazem Kadri signed a 7-year, $7 million per season deal with the Calgary Flames. That's a lot for a 32-year-old. And Keegan Bradley, 7 under, 1-shot lead over Adam Scott at the BMW Championships. Harold Varner and Justin Thomas are 2 back. Morikawa and Schauffele are 3 back. Rory, Spieth, and Scheffler all fired 3 unders. They're 4 back. And remember the 11 golfers who are challenging the PGA Tour for, antitrust? Yeah, it was announced yesterday that case isn't even going to be heard to like January, February of 24. Think about that.
Of 24.
2024.
Oh,
correct.
Joy.
So nothing's going to change next year, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing. Zero, zilch, nada. And then we'll see what unfolds in the winter and spring of 2024. And that, gentlemen, was...
That was the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So there you have it.
So the Live Tour is going to live another year going head-to-head with no resolution in sight between the two sides unless they come up with something on their own, which, come on, that's not going to happen.
Not at all.
Miller and Moulton. It's a football Friday. Ha! Look at that. Last one without any real football, too. Right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the two together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Napa Auto Parts, 1820 Boy Scout Road, 1220 Vizcaya Parkway in Cape Coral, 532 Pine Island Road in Fort Myers, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard in Fort Myers, and 17284 San Carlos Boulevard on Fort Myers Beach.
And don't forget about the Napa location in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail. Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, KW, the Seahawks were a huge dumpster fire. It's funny. The Bears can't block at all. They went 2 tight ends and ran the ball that much. But, I mean, Fields only played 1 series, and every single throw he had was damn near. There was 1 throw when he faked a handoff, had a half roll left, and hit the tight end on a crossing. But, I mean, if they showed anything yesterday, then they're going to be throwing a lot to the tight ends. I mean, they do not have a downfield passing game. They do not have a wide receiver who can win a one-on-one battle. That whatever throwing they do is going to be all short passing, and a lot of it to the tight ends.
Let the suicide doors up. Do suicides on the tour.
Felipe?
bus.
Felipe, just, if it,
Okay, I'll stop.
Well, that would seem to be a problem.
ESPN Plus is doing a whole thing on the Savannah Bananas. Banana Land. They're doing an actual show.
Oh, they're making a show about the bananas.
That's what it just looked like in that commercial.
Huh. All right, here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Friday. It is a football Friday, but not a football Friday where Mark starts crowling yet. We're not there yet. Next week, it's possible we get the Miller growl. We're not there yet. But as
We're
he's
really
hinting,
not.
No. But as he's hinting, it's still training camp, working on the side fields there. Not ready for game action just yet. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Poll questions already up. It's pretty obvious. I mean, come on, the whole, Deshaun Watson thing. It's been a fairly big story, but now that's it. It's settled. It's resolved. There's no appeal. There's no nothing. And I don't even think, based on yesterday, that it matters if the one civil case, which is not yet resolved, doesn't matter if it goes to trial and they rule against him. I don't believe so. I think this is it.
It's 11 games. He returns to play the Houston Texans. No, I did not make that up.
Right.
And the Browns now are left with Jacoby Brissett to be their starting quarterback for the first 11 games in a year that the Cleveland Browns thought they were going to compete for at least a division title, if not grander things. They didn't get Deshaun Watson for any other reason than to compete for Super Bowls. Now, what are they going to do? Because David and I don't believe they're any better than a third, fourth place team in that division with the way things set up now.
We'll say it again. The AFC is really tough. 13 teams think if they don't make the playoffs, it's been a disappointing season. Only the Jets, Jags, and Texans can honestly say they can throw a record on the board that's short of the postseason and still go, we got things accomplished this year. The other 13 teams in that conference view the season as a failure if they don't make the playoffs. Do you really think in a conference that deep that Cleveland's going to be able to get there with Jacoby Brissett? I'll say this, Mark, and we don't like to play the schedule game. Here is it's another reason why I think you and I would make the Jimmy G move. But if you want to go best case scenario, the first handful of games for the Browns are really doable, even with your quote-unquote backup quarterback. And so it is possible that we're a third of the way through this season and the Browns are kind of laughing at people like Miller and Moulton because they're 4-2. I mean, the first part of their schedule is the soft spot of their schedule.
No, they begin at Carolina.
I mean, come on. Let's be realistic. That team lost, quick math. That team lost 12 of their final 14 last year.
Then they play the Jets.
Come on. It's the Jets, top 5 draft status from a year ago.
Then they're at home for the Steelers on a Thursday night at Atlanta. That's the first 4.
I mean, come on. Think about that. Panthers, Falcons, Jets, 3 of your first 4. Yeah, I know everybody, McCaffrey's back and yeah, come on. Yeah. But look at where you would rank the teams 1 through 32. Where would 3 of those 4 teams be?
High 20s, early 30s.
Exactly. They'd be 26 through 32.
Right. Now, the next 4 are a little saltier. Home for the Chargers, home for the Patriots, at the Ravens, home for the Bengals. That gets you to 8 before your bye, and then it's at Miami, at Buffalo, home for Tampa.
But, I mean, if Deshaun Watson was quarterbacking the Browns, don't you think most people would be saying, well, the Browns are going to get off to a 4-0 start? I mean, if the toughest game of the stretch is the Steelers at home on a short week where you'll be favored. I mean, you'll be a 3.5 with Deshaun Watson, you'd be a 3.5 to 6 point favorite. in that game.
David, I could argue in the first 4 games they're going to be favored in all of them, even with Brissett playing.
They better get off to a 3-1 start at worst. With the schedule that they have, the 5 of the 6 division games take place after the start. Never mind all the other AFC games they're going to play. I mean, and if this season doesn't go well, that's 2 in a row. And then what? You have to take a look at that organization and say, what? 2020 was the aberration. When we thought it was the beginning of something. And can you really waste 2 of the young prime years of Myles Garrett and Nick Chubb's career? I mean, seriously?
They are going to take on this experiment, or so it seems, with Brissett. And while the first 4 games could go fine, the next group of games before they get back, they're, then you look at the other side of this. Without Deshaun Watson, with Brissett, they won't be favored against the Chargers. I would imagine they could be a favorite, or it'll be a pick 'em against the Patriots. They won't be favored at Baltimore. They won't be favored at home against Cincinnati. I don't think they'll be favored at Miami with Brissett. They won't be favored at Buffalo with Brissett, and they won't be favored against Tampa. So while the first 4 they can get through swimmingly, 6 of the next 7 games, David, they're not favored in.
I mean, they have the inferior quarterback in 7 consecutive games. Now, obviously, there's other ways to win in this league, but it's a lot harder to win that way. Their margin of error just completely disappeared. And they have 1 healthy center on the roster, by the way. 1. So I would make the move for Jimmy G. I'd give up a 7th-round pick, nothing more. I'd say to the Niners, listen, you're going to release him in the next 12 days. I'll give you a ham sandwich, and I'll take that salary off your hands, which I know it's non-guaranteed, so that's not really a big deal to the Niners because they can just release him and he won't cost a dime against the cap. But I would say, hey, we're going to give you something.
Do you really think a 7th-round pick is a ham sandwich? Don't you think a ham sandwich is more of a 4th-round pick if we're just going plain old cold cuts?
Well, I mean, I like ham sandwich. I mean, put it this way. Just a ham sandwich is a 7th-round pick. Cheese moves it to a 6th.
Ooh.
I mean, you think a ham sandwich is...
Well, first off, all sandwiches have cheese on them in my world.
Okay.
So we're not just,
all right. So a 6th-round
beef
pick
and
then.
cheese. It's a turkey and cheese. It's a ham and cheese.
Right. Okay. But, I mean, so what sandwich? I mean, do you think a sandwich can be a 1st-round pick?
Well, if we're only dealing in sandwiches, one has to be the 1st-round pick.
Not necessarily. I mean, it could be a food item that's just not worthy of a 1st-round pick.
I'm just dealing in sandwiches here, but like a pastrami to me.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Is worthy of a 1st-round pick. A good corned beef might,
A 2nd-round pick for corned beef. How about a cheesesteak? A really good cheesesteak.
A really good cheesesteak's a 1st-round pick.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
I was still going more deli and cold cuts. A good roast beef sandwich to me could be a good 3rd-round pick.
And I'd be willing to move it up to a 2nd. All right. So then we start getting to, can a turkey with cheese and a ham with cheese, are they late 3rd-round picks? Are they supplemental 3rd-round picks, or technically they're a day 2 pick? Or are they top of the 4th round where people are salivating after the 2nd day going, man, I can't believe ham sandwich is still on the board?
What about the whole package? Turkey, ham, and cheese.
First off, if you were listening, they all have cheese.
Well, yeah, they all have cheese. Yeah. But
So, I mean, now you're combining meats. And I was just leaving meat separate. But, I didn't even get into your tuna chicken salad of the world.
Whoa.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think we're talking day 3 sandwiches here.
I agree with that. But a really good chicken salad could sneak into the end of day 2.
How about egg salad?
I'm trading that away for Jimmy G. That's my 7th-round pick right there.
Okay, and I would take advantage of that because I think there's a lot of value in an egg salad sandwich. So
I think there's a lot of smell.
Yeah.
and an egg
That's
salad sandwich.
That's okay. That's okay. For one, I'd agree with that. And two, my honker doesn't work very well, so I'm fine with it. Once again, another reason why, okay, I would take advantage of this deal. So to review, and this might be the only thing that's accomplished during Miller and Moulton today. So a pastrami sandwich is a first-round pick.
Pastrami and corned beef, first, second round sandwiches.
And I would put corned beef as a high second-round pick. But and a cheesesteak, I think a cheesesteak is a late first-round pick.
I agree, but I was kind of sticking with a deli cold sandwich. I can't even throw something that gets on the griddle on here. I mean, because now we're throwing a whole nother factor in there.
All right. And so then, to me, roast beef to me is a day 2 pick.
I agree with you. It's a good sandwich. It's a solid sandwich. It's going to get you 6-8 years on the defensive line, if you know what I mean.
Right. And I would be willing to trade up and take the roast beef sandwich late second round. You might try to hope it falls into the early third round. Okay. I would take the roast beef sandwich late second round.
It really boils down to the big question. Are you taking the ham sandwich before the turkey sandwich? I would probably, it's tough. I used to be a turkey sandwich guy. My daughter likes ham. I've switched to more of a ham sandwich guy.
And I've done just the opposite. I used to be a ham sandwich guy. Ham and cheese sandwich was my go-to sandwich. All right. And I think because of health reasons, I've switched to turkey. That's become the go-to.
I don't think I can recall a time I've ever had a corned beef sandwich.
Oof.
I'm sorry.
Give it a try. Give it a try.
I'd
Now,
love
by
to.
the way, since I'm willing, and I know, Mark, you would not be willing to consider a hot sandwich, right, as part of this deal. You're thinking just deli
I'm just thinking
cold.
a deli cold sandwich.
Okay,
That's where I
Cuban
am.
sandwich. All right, a Cuban sandwich. Does that not count?
Well,
Or is that
pressed. I mean, that you're talking ham and pork, and you're pressing that down on Cuban bread. Once again, that's a whole nother category.
Have you said
Gotcha.
Italian yet? Where does Italian land in all this?
well,
Again, it's a multi-meat sandwich. I was just kind of sticking with one meat
Right,
here.
got you.
I'm okay. I'm willing to consider Italian because they're all cold. Okay, so I am willing to consider. I mean, to me, you know what that could be? That could be like That's a second and a third. I'm trying to move up into the first round, and I'm taking a second and a third round pick.
And I'd probably throw in the egg salad for you. I mean, I really would.
Thank you. I would love if you throw that in. That's like that 7th round pick that everybody tries to get. If you could throw in an egg salad sandwich when dealing with me, you could probably rob me blind.
Miller and Moulton, the clutch vodka play of the day on the other side. I'm not sure what that was the sandwich of the day on
I'm
Miller
hungry.
and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the clutch vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the clutch vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like clutch vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the clutch vodka play of the day.
That's clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
KW, I almost gagged reading that. I had to pick up some anchovy paste at the grocery store the other day, and I saw the sardines right next to it. And I got to tell you, they don't even look, there's nothing about that can of sardines that doesn't look like anything but gagging.
I will say that was a very solid contribution, yo. Peanut butter and jelly. That's an interesting debate right there.
Well, and again, I think we were on a deli sandwich run, so
Right.
I thought about it. I was really just looking at the deli board, and there's no deli board that says PB&J. Maybe there should be.
But my guess is the reason someone thinks they can nominate it is if we're going to go chicken salad, tuna salad, egg salad, if you're going cold like that, off the meat reservation. DC, they could go 4-0. They could also then lose 7 in a row.
The old fluffernutter, peanut butter and marshmallow fluff, right?
Hated it.
My wife can eat that marshmallow fluff right out of the jar. It just looks disgusting.
Yeah, I hate it. To me, that's like, I love a cheesesteak. I don't like it with the whiz, though. That to me is, come on, put some cheese on it.
Got my cheese whiz, boy. Yes, it did, Wancho. Adds like 36 minutes to your life.
I agreed, Paul. To me, it's not.
I loved that stuff as a kid. Cheese whiz on a cracker.
It was a total game changer when you were a kid.
Yeah.
In terms of a snack.
Bottle of Coca-Cola, a sleeve of Ritz crackers, and a can of cheese whiz.
Yep. And you'd sit right there, watch your show. You didn't even chew either. You just put the Ritz.
5th grade coming home from school for me right there.
Yep. You put the whole Ritz cracker in your mouth. There was no bite involved.
Oh. It's like biting a Pringle. Pringles, you just.
Pringles are chips, right?
Yes.
I had someone call it a crisp the other day. I'm like, what?
Mark, I have to admit the sound you made eating your Pringles there, you sounded like a pitching machine. You were just
Yep.
Just here it comes.
What's the name of the football
Jugs gun.
Jugs, yes. Did you see the Packers Jugs gun? So the Packers are using this new jug gun technology where it can program every single quarterback in the NFL's throwing habits and the speed that they throw it at and the direction they throw it at. And they're using it in practice and training.
I can see that. I was with the Orange Whip guys yesterday. They had these sensors on me. Basically took 6 swings and they put it in the computer and go, all right, here's your swing flaw.
Wow. Yeah, I have a buddy who's a PGM major at FGCU.
This, of course, is where you insert the joke and you go, there's only one?
Oh, no. It gets the one that's the
worst.
The worst.
Gotcha. Right.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Hope you've had a great week. We thank you for ending it in some way, shape, or form with us, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. And our last segment, once again, proving talking sports, it's okay. Oh, you guys want to go off the reservation a little bit. You want to talk and compare sandwiches and what round draft picks they are. Oh, we're interested in that. Oh, the texts and the Twitch comments and what have you are just coming in like a waterfall. Oh, you want to talk about the Big Ten deal and Deshaun Watson? Whatever. Oh, hey, what about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? I mean, isn't that at least a day 2 draft pick?
Yeah, I mean, David, we got about 10 texts during that last segment. One says,
Right.
what are we doing here? I got lost minutes ago. Every other one, club sandwich, 3rd round. You're all making me go get a public sub now.
Yeah, I'm starving. I can't get anything. It's 4:22 where I am.
Right.
I'm dying over here.
This guy's saying the Sausalito turkey pick all day over a ham sandwich. And then we got the snob. And I can't really knock the food snob for going, the prosciutto, buffalo, mozzarella, roasted red peppers is a high first-round sandwich.
Oh, my.
Oh, hoi polloi.
Well, Buffy, you're probably right.
Ho, ho, ho.
Of course, you can only get it in 6 states. I love the comment in the Twitch chat room. Hold on, I got to pick this up late. What the hell are you guys talking about? It's a good question. It's a good question. We got off on a tangent, and now we're all hungry.
It all happened because David and it's my fault. David just said, I'll throw in a ham sandwich and made a 7th-round pick, a ham sandwich. That's where it started. I'm like, wait a minute here. A ham sandwich is a hell of a lot better than a 7th-round pick.
So then we started breaking it down because that's what we do. And besides, I can overanalyze the 3-car funeral. So, all right, fine. What round of sandwich is it? Mm-hmm. All right. What's our poll question?
Our poll question's about Deshaun Watson. What do you think of the suspension? We went to the Goldilocks theory for the last time on this one. Too many games, too few games, just right. What do you think, by the way? Did you answer this poll question?
I did. And I said while answering it that I'm very torn. And I hate straddling. Hate it. I'm of the belief, hey, at some point in time, you're going to vote, offer up an opinion. But I'll say it again. Well, I think what Deshaun did is disgusting. And I can't believe it didn't constitute a crime. Because there's no way that every single person involved, all right, was a willing participant. So I think just by the definition that he was forcing himself on massage therapists, I mean, come on, some of them at least, even if you think that some were willing to go along and happy endings and all that, come on. I mean, you got to acknowledge that some were not. Okay, so how by definition then can you not come to the conclusion that he was forcing himself in a sexual way on people? That to me has to be a crime. Whatever it is in the legal system, misdemeanor, felony, this A, B, D, whatever. But I mean, I'm baffled that he was not indicted for a crime, and not once, but twice not indicted. It's shocking to me. It seems preposterous to me.
Particularly after what Judge Robinson ruled and what was in her decision. Right. She had all of the evidence in front of her and was able to make the determinations that she made.
So for as incredulous as I am about that, I have been consistent for 30 years with a microphone. I'm very uncomfortable with harsh punishments when someone hasn't even been charged with something. I have And it's not just because of my affection for Bobby Bowden. I have always supported coaches at any level, pro or college, even high school, all right, who are like, listen, just because somebody's charged with something, can we let this thing play out? These could be false charges. This person, in fact, could be completely innocent. Okay, now if they're found to be guilty, if they plea in any way, then yeah, I want punishment. Okay, but I'm very uncomfortable with a long suspension when you're not even charged with a crime. Okay, and by the NFL's own guidelines, they basically say 6 or more games for an act of violence. All right. The first judge came to the conclusion that he's a despicable creep, but he wasn't violent. And that is essentially why she limited it to no more than 6 games. So I ultimately voted just right because I'm appalled at both ends. So I'm splitting the difference. But I got to admit, every step of this, Mark, I think they've either gotten it wrong or they just are wrong. I have not understood every step of this. I really haven't.
And I actually think it's too few. David, the one thing you've taught me in working with you the long time is just how hard it is to get charges on sexual assault. Not convictions, just charges.
I know. It's unbelievable.
I've worked with you a long time, and because of things outside of work, you've enlightened me on a lot of things. So you can be guilty without being charged. And for whatever reason, I felt this man was guilty from day one. I think it's too few games. And sometimes the NFL has to be their own jury to keep certain scumbags out of their league.
So 11 it is, and it's our poll question. Too few, too many, just right. From early results, very few of you have said it's too many. So, and which is why I think Goodell was pressing as hard as he was, because Goodell was able to do some polling, if you will, wet his finger, put it up in the air, and he realized the tea leaves of, 6 isn't settling well with people. And ultimately, this is a PR case for me. So I got to go for more.
You can vote FL Sports Network, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter, or FloridaSportsNetwork.com if you don't want to do the Twitter thing. It's time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka, that's clutch with a K. So smooth, you can't even taste it when you put a mixer in there. In fact, it's almost scary. It's so smooth. Might want to just drink it on the rocks. We'll keep you posted on where you can get Clutch Vodka in the coming months. But our Clutch Vodka play of the day, Albert Pujols, salami time.
First pitch for a strike.
Albert hits it out to deep left. It is gone. It's a grand slam. 690 off the bench. Pujols pinch hit. Grand slam.
There you have it.
He's got to get to 700.
From the Cards Radio Network, Albert Pujols was 690 last night, a pinch hit grand slam home run in their rout of Colorado.
I hope he just gets to 697. 7 more, he passes A-Rod. He's 4th all time. 700 would be cool, obviously, for the big round number. But I'd love to see him get ahead of the cheater.
I'm with you, David.
I would be great. It would be great. And he is unbelievable lately. Pujols in his last 6 games, David, 10 for 19, a double, 4 home runs, 11 RBI.
His final season, he's in his 40s. Adam Wainwright's in his 40s. Wainwright with 7 shutout innings yesterday. Think about that. Pujols and Wainwright yesterday in their 40s, likely leading the Cardinals into the playoffs again. And that's where Albert Pujols' career should finish. It should end in October.
And the fact that he's playing well in August bodes well for maybe some October heroics. out of pool holes. Miller and Moulton will turn our talk to college football on the other side. Thanks for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, Hops, he's not allowed to go see a massage person that is not set up by and approved by the team in the league. So if he even goes to get a massage from someone else, whether the massage is on the up and up or not, I think it's a violation of his settlement agreement, and then he can face more punishment. Paper City Gamer, it's tough to imagine. The answer is no. Apparently, in 2005, the National League East had 4 teams above 500, and the Nats were exactly 500. Paper City. So the 2005 National League East, 4 teams above 500, and the Nats were at 500 at 81 and 81. All 5 teams between 81 and 90 wins. So if the question is above 500, no. At 500, yes.
Coming back.
Is he on the line?
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Pat Kirwan, talk all things NFL, coming up at the top of the hour. Pat's been traveling all week. Denver, Vegas, Seattle on his training camp tours. We got a lot to catch up with Pat about. And we'll do so beginning at the top of the hour. Our poll question, the punishment for Deshaun Watson. Did they get it right? Is it too few games? Or is it too many? That's our poll question. Go to that, Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com and vote. Adam Rittenberg's kind enough to join us once again, senior college football writer, ESPN, ESPN.com. You can follow him on the Twitter handle ESPN Rittenberg, ESPN Rittenberg. Adam, it's David and Mark. Thanks for doing this. How are you?
Doing great. How you doing?
Well, we're doing fine, and we know that you cover the Big Ten a lot, and you work for the Disney family, and shockingly, the Big Ten and ESPN will divorce after this year. Listen, you're a big picture guy. You know 20 months ago that the SEC made the deal that they made with ESPN. Did you see this coming?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to see it coming completely until it happens just because of the long-term partnership. But if you look at the available windows, it makes a lot of sense. And you're covering this negotiation, which went on a very long time and, was announced much later than a lot of us thought. Obviously, after a major realignment that happened in late June, it was always sort of pointing this direction because the Big Ten really wanted to create its media schedule, TV schedule, like the NFL does, where you have assigned windows with certain media partners. Kevin Warren was not going to do a one media partner deal. Probably wasn't going to do a 2 media partner deal. He wanted to bring in at least 3 partners, and they obviously have done that. And he told me that you want your audience to know where the game is at what time. And so at noon, they'll go to Fox, and at 3:30, they'll go to CBS, and at night, they'll go to NBC. And I think the issue with ESPN is because the SEC is going to be in so many of those windows. The ACC obviously will be in some of those windows. It just wouldn't have been the same type of offering. And so that's why they went the way they did. And then you never know what happens down the line. But it's certainly jarring to see no ESPN there, given how long that partnership was.
Adam, were you surprised as well as that there was no Apple or Amazon? I mean, I know they're doing some stuff on Peacock, but it's pretty minor that this is set on old school over-the-air networks, and there's, really there are cable partners, but no real streaming partner. Did that surprise you at all, Adam?
Not particularly. I think we're one media deal away from those being much more prominent. And I think there were good conversations with Apple and Amazon. I think they could be very involved in the Pac-12 media rights deal, which is coming up. I think the Pac-12 might be more willing to go in, to a significant relationship with Apple or Amazon, but they also have to be willing to do that. So I think it's just a little bit too soon to have a major presence. I thought it was possible for a small package of games. I never thought it was going to have a major part of the overall media rights deal. But again, I think we are one of these away. So it's a 7-year deal. I'd be very surprised if the next deal didn't have a much bigger direct-to-consumer streaming package versus the current one, which, as you mentioned, is very traditional in terms of the major linear networks.
I'm guessing the answer for you is no, because you're so in the know. But were you surprised that while making the announcement yesterday, the Big Ten said, hey, don't get too comfortable with this because it's going to get richer and we're going to add more teams probably soon?
Well, they didn't say that, but that certainly is the implication. And yes, there's a lot of talk in Big Ten circles that the further expansion will happen, possibly in late, in September or October, or it could be a couple of years down the line. So the question is, when it happens. But I think there's definitely an appetite to have more than 2 schools on the West Coast, at least from the league's standpoint. Now, will the presidents agree? Will the other schools want to share their increasing pot with others, and does the valuation make sense? But I don't think the Big Ten ultimately will have only 2 members on the West Coast because of what it can do scheduling wise, and how it can grow its presence. Kevin Warren's a West Coast guy, grew up in Phoenix, and always wondered why the Big Ten didn't have more of a presence, west of Nebraska. And I think he's going to obviously see to that with further expansion. The only question is when.
Adam, let's talk on the field. We're just a little over a week away from Nebraska and Northwestern. The Big Ten gets kicked off with a conference game in week 0, then Ohio State and Notre Dame. Is there a team in the Big Ten that you think someone's sleeping on? We went through, there's only 4 teams ranked in the top 25 in the AP. We all know how good Ohio State's going to be, but I'm curious, do you think there's a team that the nation might be sleeping on in the Big Ten?
Yeah, I think it could be Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota, if you remember last year, the opening game really pushed Ohio State until they lost Mohamed Ibrahim to a ruptured Achilles, their running back, and he's back. They're very deep in the backfield. They brought back Kirk Chiraka, who's a longtime play caller for PJ Fleck. On offense, was there in 2019 when they won 11 games. So, and defensively, they've been really good, kind of sneaky good the last couple of years. So I think that's a team that has a chance to win the West Division for the first time. They haven't won the Big Ten since 1967. And so, the East is going to be Ohio State and Michigan, maybe Michigan State, maybe Penn State. But the West, I think you could make a case for, Minnesota, for Purdue, certainly Iowa and Wisconsin. But I like Minnesota the more I look at their team. The only thing with them is they have tough crossover games, both at Penn State and at Michigan State. So the crossover schedule could end up doing them in a little bit, but I do like what they have coming back.
Adam, we were surprised, for whatever that's worth, that both Penn State and Iowa were unranked. Would the pollsters get it right, or are they missing something?
Iowa for sure. I mean, Iowa won this division last year. They have some really good pieces coming back. Jack Campbell, I think, will be one of the better defenders in the country. Candidate for Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. Iowa's got some some real potential running the ball. They're just not very good at quarterback, and that's the hang up there. Is that position has held them back, and so I would rank them. I understand to a degree why they aren't ranked. Penn State's a bit of a mystery. It hasn't been a very good team the last couple of years. They do bring back Sean Clifford, who I don't think gets enough credit at quarterback. They have not run the ball, and that's been the big issue for Penn State. And it's amazing to say that given their history, but they have been very poor, for several years now, really since Saquon Barkley. They haven't consistently run the ball, and that's a concern. And, defensively, Manny Diaz taking over. They lost some good players from last year's unit, some question marks at linebacker, but I like their secondary a lot, and they always seem to find a way up front. So I think Penn State's not a team we should write off by any means, but I understand more so why they aren't ranked versus Iowa, which, you can kind of expect, 7, 8, 9, 10 wins out of Iowa as long as they're good at the line of scrimmage, and I think they will be.
Adam Rittenberg, senior college football writer, ESPN, ESPN.com. Follow him on Twitter, ESPN Rittenberg.
Adam, talk to me about the University of Michigan. They lost both coordinators. We all know they lost a lot on their defense, but their schedule's soft early, so it seems to me the coordinators, and they'd be able to get both units a little more cohesive before the big games start coming to the Big Ten. But I see a schedule that's light. I see a team that's not as good. What do you see in Michigan?
Well, yeah, and the coordinator thing on offense, both of the new coordinators were on the staff last year. Matt Weiss is a quarterback coach, so I don't think there's going to be any issues on offense. I actually really like their offense. The question there is, who's the quarterback going to be? Because most coaches in the conference think that J.J. McCarthy is ultimately the better player, but Cade McNamara led them to the Big Ten championship and the college football playoff, and so when does J.J. take over that job, if he takes over that job? But love what they have coming back at receiver. There's some good pieces on the offensive line. They're definitely going to miss Hassan Haskins and or 1,300 yards, 20 touchdowns. And so, can Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards sort of carry the load at running back to offset that loss? And then defensively, they're not going to be as good. But again, Jesse Minter, who's the new coordinator, comes from the same system as Mike McDonald, the Baltimore Ravens system. And they want to create continuity there. It's just, can they find, that pass rush? Because there was no team that had a better combination in the Big Ten and few in college football that had a better combination than Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo. David would have been a number one pick if he didn't rupture his Achilles at Pro Day. Aiden Hutchinson obviously went number 2, and then also had a number 1 pick coming out of the secondary in Dax Hill. So this is the unit that I'm watching. And you mentioned the soft start. I don't know if we're going to know a whole lot about Michigan until October 1st when they go to Iowa, a place that they haven't had a lot of success, and a lot of good teams have not had success. So the month of October at Iowa, at Indiana, they should win that one, but then Penn State, Michigan State at home. That's when we're going to find out if they're capable of challenging Ohio State. If they can get through that month with 0 losses, then we have to look at Michigan, much like we did last year, which is a Big Ten/CFP contender.
Adam, what has Scott Frost gotten wrong? Because I don't think any of us thought that he would have struggled this much coming from what he did at UCF. And I understand they're 2 different leagues and 2 different challenges. We all do. But how much of it is just we're going to blame his quarterback for the last 3 years because he was a turnover machine? But I don't want to do that. I got to blame Scott. What's he gotten wrong?
Yeah, I think he's tried to play the same style at UCF in the Big Ten. And if you go back, even the great year they had in 2017, a lot of the good things overshadowed mistakes, penalties, turnovers, lack of discipline. You can't win that way in the Big Ten. You can't beat yourself, especially when you're not the most talented team like they were in the AAC. And so I think there's been a lack of adaptation to the Big Ten. I don't think he's made some mistakes in his coaching staff. The special teams have been horrific. And on that side of the conference in the West, you cannot turn the ball over. You have to play great special teams. And you have to adapt to sort of a more traditional run the ball, don't beat yourself, win the field position. That's how Northwestern wins. That's how Iowa wins. That's how Wisconsin has won for many years. Minnesota is much more in that mold. And so, it's been just like, Scott said after the first game last year, it's like the same movie. They don't change the movie. And so I think special team is going to be a really important part of this. to get to a point where we're not complaining or making fun of Nebraska special teams every week. They got Bill Bush, who's a veterans coordinator, take over that group, and I think they will improve this year. And then Adrian Martinez did some good things. You mentioned it, though. Too many mistakes at critical times, and I just think it was time for a change there. So Casey Thompson will get the nod at quarterback, and then we'll see what he can do just as a new presence at quarterback. But they have to play the Big Ten way. They cannot take another approach and try to fit it at Nebraska and win in the division where everybody else is pretty much playing this style and having success in doing so.
And a week from tomorrow, they play Northwestern in a season opener, which means an awful lot for both. The media landscape may be changing in the Big Ten, but one thing that doesn't change is how good of a job Adam Rittenberg does at covering it. Adam, thanks so much for your time and your insight. We really appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for having me on.
Adam Rittenberg, senior college football writer, ESPN and ESPN.com. And as you could tell, he knows his stuff. Follow him on Twitter at ESPN Rittenberg, ESPN Rittenberg.
You know, the Badgers, who most everybody have picked on in the West, because that's who you pick in the West, they've got a pretty salty schedule this year. They go to Ohio State, they go to Michigan State, and they play at Iowa and Nebraska. Just saying. It's a lot of road games against the upper end teams that they're going to have to win the majority of those if they want to go to the Big Ten championship game.
It is asking a lot, because also Wisconsin, and even a Badger fan listening has to, I think, own up to this. They're a little bit like Colorado Rockies baseball. Camp Randall, whoo, that's a top 10 team. Away from Madison, top 30 team, sometimes top 40. Got to admit, they're a very different team home and away, a lot. So I'm with you, Mark. I'm with you. Like, you know, Nebraska hasn't proven that they're in that echelon yet, but obviously the other three have. And so, I mean, 3-1 with that would be tremendous.
And they go to Northwestern as well. That's their other road game. So it's just, 5 road games against 3 good teams and 2 teams that you'd much rather get at home. So just something to pay attention to. But for people that are just sticking to Wisconsin in that title game, I think the schedule is a little tougher, and it gives the Minnesotas and the Iowas a little more room.
I know we're pressed for time. Do you believe what he said, that Nebraska, along with Purdue, that they have to play the Big Ten way?
No, I think Purdue has to play the only way they can win is keep playing the way that they're playing.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the two together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Napa Auto Parts, 1820 Boy Scout Road, 1220 Vizcaya Parkway in Cape Coral, 532 Pine Island Road in Fort Myers, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard in Fort Myers, and 17284 San Carlos Boulevard on Fort Myers Beach.
And don't forget about the Napa location in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail. Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So, David, it's become to the point now when MLB Network shows a game at night instead of showing the wraparound coverage, I get really out of sorts.
You know, remember back in the day when, the two of us and John, and we would sit down and we would make programming decisions. He would often ask us, what games do you want to run? And
Right.
remember, for a while, we went heavy with running games.
Yes.
We basically, if
Yes. If there's
man,
a game
did
on, we put it on.
yes, and it looked good on paper and it sounded good, but at the end of the day, if you're not interested in that game, you're probably not
It's
listening.
horrible. I'm sorry. It's
Right.
horrible. I
And-
love the red zone type of, just a college football show. Hey,
Yes.
I've got David Moulton in Tuscaloosa. We're going to go to him now.
Right.
What's going on with the Tide?
Right.
Hey, Mark, thanks. Alabama just scored. They're leading 17-10. It's been
Yeah.
ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. You do 30 seconds, send it back to I love that show.
Yes.
I could host that for 6 hours and be giddy doing it.
And that's what we realized, in which it's like, instead of running a noon game and a 3:30 game, which sounds good and looks good, you're actually serving more people if you don't run a game at all and you just run that network programming. And that's exactly how I feel with MLB Network and MLB Network Radio, in which sometimes I think they just get lazy and they're like, yeah, we're going to run a game.
Well, and I think they had their broadcasters doing whatever game was on last night. I'd rather get the home broadcast. Unless they were giving me Toronto, which I don't think they were, because it wasn't Michael Kay.
Did they do the Yankees last night?
Yeah.
Because the game to do last night was the Mets Braves.
The announcer where he slid into the thing, they've got "holy crap" spelled out in tape on the wall. I had not seen that yet.
You saw that? That was
I didn't. I saw him fall. I just didn't see the "holy crap" with the slide. That's
yeah.
with like the white tape of someone dying. That's really funny.
I love how he just hits him with the "Hi guys."
Broke 6 ribs.
I know. I have to admit, that's hard to do.
Yes, they should have, Super Joe.
It was
100%.
clearly the biggest game of the night. Do we have Pat?
He looks that way. He's actually on the phone.
Good.
Where is Pat? Is he back on this coast?
I think he's done traveling. I think his training camp tours are over.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Hope you've had a good week. Thanks for spending part of the end of it with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. He has been traveling for 3 weeks now. And most of this past week, he has been in the western part of the country. I believe he is back in the Eastern time zone. He is Pat Kirwan of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains and CBS's NFL Today show. And he joins us once again courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Where are you?
I am off the road, so I'm back getting ready to go to a wedding up in Newport, Rhode Island today with my niece and all my brothers and everything else. So it's going to feel like a day off, a full day off. Well, not really. I got my radio show at 3 o'clock, and I'm going to do that from a hotel room. And then at 7 o'clock, get over to the rehearsal dinner or whatever. My wife's got a schedule for me. But so I will squeeze in this visit and the radio show while in Newport, Rhode Island.
Well, I mean, God forbid you take a day off, Pat. I mean, whatever you do, don't do it. We're too close to the start of the season. Where you did give us the rundown where you were out west so people know.
Yeah. So when I last spoke to you, then I went to Denver and spent time with the Broncos, obviously in Russell and all that. And then from there over to Seattle, and we spent 2 days. And then we were on our way to the Raiders, but Drew Lock got COVID. And I, in my opinion, said we should not go over there. We should go home and we can do a virtual one with them. We had a lot of practice 2 years ago doing virtual camp tours. So we flew back to New York, and then actually the Raiders were tremendous. They piled on the guests for us. So we got a chance to spend a lot of time with people, but we did not go there because of the little COVID outbreak. And I want to minimize that, but you don't want to go to another team. So we said goodbye and did not carry ourselves over to the Raiders. But it was interesting to be in Denver and Seattle. It was great to see and spend time. The last person we talked to in Denver was Russell Wilson. And the first person we talked to in Seattle the next day was Geno Smith. So trying to make the connection between those two things.
Well, can we start with Denver? And obviously we'll get to Deshaun Watson next segment. But let's start with Denver. Are they as good as what people have largely been saying, which is, all they needed was a quarterback? This was a really good team that was missing a quarterback, and now look out. Is that true?
Well, they have one of the oddest. I don't know if that's true. I think that it's easy to say, and I think they believe that. But when you look inside, and here's what they count on. We're a really good running team, and we have a really good defense. And all we need is the quarterback. And that might be true, but I bring attention to this. It's easy to say their defense was really good because they were ranked 8th. But when you look inside of them, the only thing they were great at, which is the most important thing, was giving up points. They were number 3 in that. But if you look at everything else, 15th against the run, 15th in interception, 18th in sacks, and I don't know if they're any better, 28th on third down. 28th on third down. So, yeah, they did a good job of preventing points, which is the most important thing. But it's not like they are the Baltimore Ravens of the early 2000s. There's a lot of things that when I look at them. So instead of spending all my time on the obvious, which is the quarterback, he is absolutely a ton of an upgrade. But there's a couple of things about it that I wonder about, like the depth at receiver. We'll start there. Cortland Sutton is basically playing the role of DK Metcalf. I don't think he's as good as Metcalf. Jerry Jeudy is now going to be the Lockett piece. He's not as good as Lockett. So I look at that, and then they like to play 11 personnel. So who's the third receiver? It's easy to say it's Hamler, but what are you getting? He was an IR for last year. So the receiver core, to me, for Russell's sake, is not as good. They really don't understand yet what Russell's like when he's scrambling, because that's a big part of his game. So I wonder about that part. I do like the running backs, but the offensive line, what were they last year? Was it all their fault that they were number 22 in giving up sacks? Russell's used to playing behind a bad line. Is he running and escaping like he used to? He's not a young guy anymore. So those things are on my mind. And then the pass rush stuff. Randy Gregory, he's never been a double-digit sack guy. He wasn't even practicing. He was just coming off PUP the day I was there. And Chubb has been kind of disappearing act. So I don't think that I think of them as everything is solved now. I think there's still questions.
Do you think that they're better than the fourth place team in that division? I mean, that at the end of the day, Pat, I think a lot of us think 3 could get in from the West. Are they good enough to be in the top 3?
Well, they got swept by the Raiders last year, and most of the common opinion out there is the Raiders are the fourth place team. I would not be so fast to make that conclusion. I like Denver a lot. We've said this on the air. I think we asked David 2 weeks ago, could the fourth place team in the West be the first place team maybe in the South? And I think we all kind of said, well, that's possible. They're a solid football team, not being the Broncos, but you study the Raiders, the better pass rushers, better receivers, and people say, well, Carr's not as good. Really? We'll see how this goes. But I think everyone really still thinks it's the Chiefs on top, but a lot of the guys in Vegas think it's going to be the Chargers. I don't know. I didn't really spend time studying, the Raiders, because I wasn't out there to watch practice. But when you look at them and talk to the players I talk to, you start to think, well, they match up pretty good. And as I said, they swept them last year. I don't know. Is Russell going to make a bigger difference than Devontae Adams is going to make? I don't know the answer to that, but I don't think it's a lot that the Raiders are the fourth place team.
Say this about Denver: 4 of their first 8 games, Jaguars, Texans, Jets, Seahawks. So I know they're going to have to learn how to play with Russ and adjust and all that. But quote unquote, from a scheduling standpoint, they should be able to make some hay early. They better, goodness knows, with the division that they're playing in. Listen, we say the only thing that counts in August are injuries, Pat. But the Seahawks looked last night about as bad as you can look in this league, quite frankly. How'd they look in person?
Well, again, they're one of those teams that they're not alone, and they're not completely sure who their quarterback is. It's pretty easy to say Geno will get the job, and probably true, but it's not rock solid, and consequently, they're still splitting reps at practice as you're trying to get ready. And Geno has not been a starter for a long time. His day may have come here, but you got to pick a guy and go all out now just to get the guy ready, whoever the guy is. And the COVID thing, a lot was supposed to start the game this week. And of course, he didn't even get a chance to go. So how do they look? They're going to end up playing 2 rookie offensive tackles. That's going to be the way this works out. And so you start asking yourself, are they ready for Cross? And then the other, they kind of like Lucas. Lucas looked pretty good to me, but it'll be 2 rookie tackles. So that's always kind of interesting and scary. And then there might be some rookies on the field on defense on the secondary. Probably not to start, but if I went out and 4 wide receivers, they're going to have to jog out a rookie. So those are the kind of things that you got to look at them and say it's just growing pains. The old days are over. Russell was the last one to go. Metcalf has been extended, but I think they're a work in progress would be what I'd call them. Now, I'm not so sure in their division how shaky it is. The quarterback at the Rams, I don't know, Jimmy Miller sees serious issues there. Jimmy had the injuries that he had, and he doesn't think he's going to be 100% all year. So I don't know. And the kid in San Francisco, one thing about Pete Carroll, he'll figure out how to bid after that quarterback. So the division is, I think, vulnerable a little bit. But I don't think Seattle right now is going to be the team to win the division. That's for sure.
Win the division, Pat. I mean, I think they might be on the clock. I mean,
For what reason?
Well, they don't have a quarterback play. You just mentioned they're going to start two rookies at the offensive tackle positions. It wasn't a great team a year ago, Pat. I mean, this is a team, to me, I don't see them any better than fourth place in their division. I think this is, obviously, you don't think so, and Pete doesn't think so, but this looks like it's a total rebuild.
Is it a total rebuild? Yeah, they're in the middle of doing what the Patriots had to do when Brady left. That's literally how it felt to me when I walked out of there. Yeah, Russell's gone. All the secondary is gone. Big running backs are gone. So, yeah, it's a rebuild. But the division is not what everyone thinks it is, in my opinion. So it's kind of one of those places. They could win 7 or 8 games and be still in the hunt till December. But, you know, do you bet on Kyler Murray? I don't. Do you bet on Trey Lance? I don't. You bet that Stafford's healthy all year? So you never know where the quarterback battles can get neutralized in that division pretty quickly. And if the quarterback battle over the course of those teams is fairly close, then you could see them hanging around for a while. But they're in the same spot as New England was. But I visited a number of teams this year that have been penciled in as fourth place teams. Pittsburgh, no, they're going to come in fourth. I would be very careful about saying that. Seattle, fourth place team. And so that's the way this goes. People's perception of that. Detroit, fourth place, but they may not be that. So there's a couple of these teams where I was, you know, there, and everyone says, everyone thinks we're going to be terrible. And maybe not, maybe they are. But at some point, every team's got to go back and start over again. That's the reality of the NFL. So maybe Seattle's in that, and maybe they can't do much this year, but I don't think they're on the clock. I don't think they're going to fire Pete over this.
The one tackle cross at left tackle last night, he did 4 penalties in the first half. He really struggled. And Pat, if it's possible to win a job not playing in the preseason, Drew Lock getting COVID, let me tell you, they struggled so badly last night, and Geno did not look good. I wonder if Drew Lock now can steal this job in the final preseason game. That's how badly Geno and the offense looked last night. Pat Kirwan, more with him on the other side. Obviously, we will get to the 800-pound gorilla story, which is Deshaun Watson. Pat's thoughts on ultimately what was negotiated, where the Browns go, and where they should go from here, all coming up with Pat Kirwan on the other side. And we'll get in quick thoughts on the Raiders. Even though he didn't see him in person, he talked to most everyone. A reminder, our poll question is about Deshaun and the settlement. Do you think they got it right? Do you think it was too little, or do you think the punishment was too much? Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, and FloridaSportsNetwork.com to vote. More with Pat Kirwan on the other side, thanks to Pinchers here on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Are you in Rhode Island for the whole weekend, or is this like a day
Yeah.
trip?
So tonight is a rehearsal dinner, and then tomorrow's the wedding, and then Sunday there's some freaking brunch thing or some more shit. But all it's going to do is put me 3 days behind. That's all. It'll be fun to see my brothers, and everybody will be up there. Like they go, why don't you get off here? For what? The rehearsal dinner starts at 7. I get off at 7. I'll be there at 7:15. I missed what? One drink?
You're not giving the toast.
Hell no. I've done my toast, Mark. I'm done with toast. I toast the end of my responsibility, and that was it. Next weekend, I'm going back up to Saratoga.
That's on the bucket list for me, Pat. I've never been.
Oh my God, I'd love to go up there and take you around. It's so great.
Never
Pat,
been to Sarasota.
Saratoga.
Oh, I think you said Sarasota.
No. Again, Felipe.
Saratoga's good. The town is beautiful. I'll be in a box just right near Parcells, so I can hang out and talk to him for a while. But they have a beautiful concert hall in the woods. It's ridiculously nice, and Chris Stapleton's playing, so we're going to see him one night. Who else is playing the second night? But my wife likes going to the concert. We're going to 2 concerts while we're up there and track all day. I couldn't be happier.
Oh. Are you actually taking days off for that? Or do you get back to your room for...
I'm going on Friday is the night Chris is playing, but I'll go to the track early and then leave there about the hotel we're in is right next to the track, so I can just walk back to the hotel, do the show, and concert starts at 8:00. So I'll get up at 7 and we'll be over there.
Perfect.
Pat, did I tell you about
fitting in the show wherever I go is my style.
I know. Well, you had, when you said track and concert, that actually had me thinking, and well, not even track and concert, but anything. You said the wife wanted to go. That's the only reason I thought you might have to miss a show, Pat.
You know what she likes when she's up there at Saratoga Springs? They're pretty famous for these natural springs. She'll first off, she's a history nut, so she'll be walking the battlefields of Saratoga. She does that every time, and she's got a bunch of other historical spots she likes to go to, and then she goes over to the springs and takes a bath in the springs while I'm on the radio.
I've got to get there. Got to get there.
Pat, when my daughter got married 4.5 years ago, I gave the toast. I didn't want to at the rehearsal dinner. The groom's dad was, kind of drunk and going on, and finally somebody took the mic from him and handed it to me, and I just basically said, well, I'd like to thank you all for coming, and to my daughter and the groom, and I looked right at him and I said, you're going to make a great first husband.
Oh my goodness.
And they were divorced 3 years later.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody, you're funny, you're laughing, and what have you. And I looked at my wife, and we both had the meter running on that one. We're like, well,
yeah. When it's But the thing about knowing things like that, it's almost impossible to get your point across in time.
Oh, yo, it is. It is.
Hey,
Apparently,
as someone who's divorced, everybody told
Yep.
me after, yeah, we knew this was going to happen.
Exactly. Everybody told me the same thing. I'm like, we dated 7 years. Anybody want to speak up?
Yeah. Oh, you could have ended that speech with "Please drive home safely."
Smoke them if you got them. Try the veal. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, there it is. Well, I have a friend whose daughter is going through that, and he knew this marriage theirs wasn't going to last. Now it's got real fear.
We're coming back,
tied to it.
guys. We're coming back.
Scary.
All right.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Our remaining 10 minutes with Pat Kirwan this week. He is co-host of Moving the Chains weekday afternoons on NFL Radio, part of CBS's NFL Today show. And he joins us once again courtesy of Pinchers. Tampa to Key West, a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. All right, we'll get to the Raiders maybe, but obviously, Pat, Deshaun Watson, 11 games, negotiated. Thoughts?
I think after I heard the little speech that Deshaun gave yesterday, after all was said and done, I can only imagine the commissioner was regretting that he didn't take control of this himself and drop the year on him, which he was entitled to do. I know there's potential legal ramifications, but most of the people who called our show yesterday or emailed us or text messages were not happy with the limited penalty. We had one caller defending Deshaun and that he was never proven guilty of anything and should not have any penalty. Of course, I had to remind him the NFL was in their own world of how they handle their own crimes. So I was always in favor of a year. I thought it was going to be 12. It could still be potentially a problem for him. Jimmy Miller made this point. Jimmy had been suspended and basically said they're on top of you like a watchdog when you have to go for the rehab. And if you miss it, it can offset and send you back to zero. So if there's any hesitation on his part about admitting things when he's in his recovery phase, if you will, then this thing could get extended again. And I bet you they're not happy with what he said when he got up there and said, "Oh, I'm innocent." That's not what he was saying last week. So, no, I think I've always said it should have been the whole thing, but I thought it'd be 12. Can you imagine if all this happens and he's going to show up? By the way, 4 of his 6 games he's eligible for are on the road. I know the NFL is going to cringe when they see the kind of protests that are going to be out there.
And the first one's in Houston. From Cleveland standpoint, if you were running the Browns right now, how quickly would you be on the phone with the Niners trying to get Jimmy G? It's 11 games now, Pat. This is not a 6-game light part of the schedule suspension. This is 11 games. This is a Browns team that has a good roster. What would you be doing if you were running the Browns?
I'd be going to the airport to pick up Garoppolo. We were not going to waste another day. He'd be there today. Here's what people keep talking. Oh, they like Brissett. Really? You can like Brissett all you want. If he gets hurt in his preseason game, what are you going to do? Oh, we're going to go after Garoppolo. You're not playing Joshua Dobbs the rest of the year. So all I have to do from my old world is look at the guy behind him and say, do I really think we should play that guy? No. I'd be after Garoppolo. I'm serious. I was dead serious. I would have been on last night making the deal. He would have been on a plane this morning.
And Pat, I don't think they have to give up much more than a 6th or 7th round pick. It's not like there's a lot of teams on August 19th that are calling the Niners. I mean, cut down days August 30th. Right now, the Niners have 11 days ticking on the clock, or else they're going to have to release him and get nothing. I mean, you can get him for a song and you have $48 million in cap relief. I mean, how can you look your team and your fan base in the eyes and sell them on Jacoby Brissett.
They won't be able to, and the fans in Cleveland think it's another chapter in the dark history of the Browns, the way things are. And I had one call yesterday who basically said, this year's a wash. I'm not worried about this year. We'll be what we're going to be. Let's try to stay healthy, and let's aim for next year. One guy. But most of them are like, what are we doing? This always happens to us, all that business. I just looked at the depth. Jacoby Brissett is an NFL backup. Period.
Yes.
And we're not even up to the start of the season. And I'll say this, and I know, David, you like doing this a lot. You look at that schedule from October 9th on, the Chargers, the Patriots, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Miami Dolphins, Buffalo, and Tampa. So when he comes back to get his 2 weeks of practice in before the week of the Houston game, you know what? They're not going to be able to give him any reps because they got to play Buffalo and Tampa. Whoever the quarterback is going to get there. He's going to be on the side throwing a practice squad guys. And now you're thinking he hasn't played really for 2 years. He threw 5 passes in the preseason. That's it. No, Garoppolo would be here. And the interesting thing on the trade deadline is it's right during their bye week. They could move Garoppolo at the bye week and have to suffer for 2 weeks without him if they wanted to. Or they could keep him on the roster. And when the year ends and he goes somewhere, they might get a draft pick for him in the compensatory world.
The one thing, very quickly, 10 seconds for me on this. I don't understand how the Browns and everyone can't understand the concept. It doesn't matter who Jacoby Brissett backs up, Deshaun or Jimmy G. And that's what you say to Jacoby if he comes in all angry. Jacoby, you're a backup. Doesn't matter who you're backing up. Now you're just backing up a guy named Jimmy.
That's right. And by the way, get out of my office. Did you see your contract? It's a backup player's contract.
Who benefits the most, Pat? Baltimore or Cincy from all of this? I mean, when you look at the division now, obviously, if they're not going to make a move for Jimmy G, you throw them right out. They're the fourth. They might be the fourth place team. But who do you think is the benefactor of this? Does Baltimore benefit more or does Cincinnati benefit more?
Well, you might think my answer is crazy, but let's start with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, who was going to play the Browns first of all these division teams, they're going to get them early. They might be really happy this is all going down the way it is. That's the first thing. Baltimore, to me, I think people are starting to realize they're pretty good. And I don't know. I don't think Lamar is going to hold out if his deal isn't done yet. But either one of them, Mark, really, because I think those are the two teams fighting for the division title now. And so both of them are going to need a win and count on a win against Cleveland. And let me say this. I brought this up yesterday. If you had just kept Baker Mayfield, you had him under contract for $18 million. If you trade for Garoppolo, it's $24. So you actually could have saved $6 million. But you could have said, Baker, you're starting now. Get in there. I know you're at home. Good. Get on the plane. Get over here. We own your rights. Was he going to sit out and miss $1.1 million per game? No. And you could have played Baker right up to the day the other guy came back, and Jacoby would have been your backup. Which leads me to, why'd you ever trade Case Keenum? That guy knows the offense inside out. If you had Case and Jacoby right now, you probably could figure out how to wiggle your way through here. But I would have kept Baker and said, get on the field.
Very quickly, Pat, in less than a minute. Your thoughts on the Raiders? They were a playoff team last year, 10 wins. I think they're better this year, but the AFC's better. Do they feel like a playoff team to you?
Oh, yeah, they do. Devontae Adams, this is not just buying someone's superstar receiver. This guy is the next door neighbor of Carr. They've been friends since high school. This guy lives right next to him in California. They throw together all the time, all off season. Derek was talking all about it. So they're going to get everything Devontae Adams has to offer. They've also done a nice job of plugging in Chandler Jones, Bilal Nichols, Rock Ya-Sin. So they've got more things going on. than just Devontae. I do think that they have a chance to be right in this battle the whole way. Hopefully Josh, and I think Josh has learned plenty since his Denver experiment with drafting Tebow. I mean, he's not that guy anymore. But there's a lot to like about where the Raiders are, and I think they're going to be pretty decent team. And I think that they're going to be in the middle of this the whole way. So I'm not discounting those guys.
Pat, enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Very good. Have a great weekend, guys.
He's Pat Kirwan. NFL's moving the chains. Pat's appearance always brought to you by Pitchers. Pitchers from Tampa to Key West. Pitchers where you can't fake fresh. We're Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Old driving range warm-up routine not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the two together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Napa Auto Parts, 1820 Boy Scout Road, 1220 Vizcaya Parkway in Cape Coral, 532 Pine Island Road in Fort Myers, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard in Fort Myers, and 17284 San Carlos Boulevard on Fort Myers Beach.
And don't forget about the Napa location in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail. Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com, flgolfcarts.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Is Calgary better now?
Well, let's see. They traded Kachuk
Right.
for Huberdeau and
And they got a couple others, and then they got
Kadri.
I mean, because Kadri gives them, I mean, Kachuk's a great player, but Kadri gives them a little bit of the grit.
Well, and they also got the second line defenseman who's really good on the power play from the Panthers, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you could argue Calgary got better. And
Yeah, you
that is
could.
what you were all expecting during this break. After a half hour with Pat
Right.
Kirwan, that I would go Calgary Flames.
Plus, I think the most important thing is, for whatever reason, people have been leaving Calgary. So they now have 2 really good players
Yeah.
who are committed long-term.
I'm going to text Pat my 4th place teams later today. I know that's what he's looking for out of me. Giants, Bears, Falcons, Seahawks.
I'm with you.
Browns, Jets, Texans, Broncos. Where would you go AFC?
Well, I agree with the first three.
I'm
Listen, I'm really toying with the idea. I think the Chiefs are taking a step back, and
I don't think that's that crazy to say, you know.
no, I don't know. I'll probably pick the Chiefs third. So Pat, Mark, I probably would go with Denver still fourth, but
The Dolphins are playing on Christmas, man. Let's go.
no thanks. I'd rather stay home with my family.
aren't they playing the Packers?
Yes, they are.
You know, it's a pretty sexy game.
You know, a lot of Heat fans on Twitter were really angry about that, but like, hey, you got the Dolphins instead. I'll trade that for that.
Adam, I'm not kidding, and you're not going to like to hear this. Don't finish last. How about if you start there? Have the first number in the W column be 6 or higher, and don't finish last. You've won 4 games the last 2 years. 4 total. And your schedule this year is a lot harder than last year.
Wow. So the dude that died with the oyster at the bar now had fentanyl and cocaine in his system. Well, that's good for the oyster world.
I was going to say, somehow I don't think it's the oysters.
Well, 2 people died apparently from eating oysters in the last week in Florida, supposedly.
Well, obviously one of them didn't die from the oysters.
Don't tell me that, man. I like oysters.
I love oysters.
Yeah.
But I don't eat like Southern oysters anymore. Like I go to nice places where I'm going to get a cold water oyster. I don't eat the, I'm not going to Rusty's or Jack's Bait Shack and down in a dozen.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes until we're done in Lake City and surrounding areas. Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. Bonus hour for those in the 239 coming up at the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. It really is a great poll question, which we may ask in the next 3 weeks. Who's going to finish fourth in the AFC West? I mean, if you think about it, Kansas City's won the division 6 years in a row. The Raiders won 10 games last year and were a playoff team, and most everyone feels they got better. Now, so is much of the competition around them, but most feel they're a better team this year on paper than they were last year. The Chargers won 9 games last year, missed the playoffs because of a field goal against the Raiders, and most people feel they are better this year than last year. And Denver won what? 7, and traded Drew Lock for Russell Wilson. So who's going to finish fourth? And could it be, we had a gentleman in our Twitch chat room an hour ago wonder, has there ever been a division in Major League Baseball in which everyone in it finished 500 or above? Because that could happen in the AL East this year. I mean, if you look at the standings right now, the Red Sox are a game below 500. So, I mean, it is entirely possible the entire AL East finishes 500 or above. And it's only happened one other time. National League East in 2005 had 4 teams above 500, and the last place team was 500. I mean, the AFC West could be everybody with 9 or more wins this year. So, A, somebody's got to finish fourth, and B, how many of those good teams are then going to miss the playoffs? I mean, you and I feel pretty comfortable we can pick the last place team in at least 6 of the other 7 divisions.
Right. And and we feel, I mean, you and I agreed on 7-7.
Right.
I just kind of went through it jokingly because Pat started talking about fourth place teams during our interview with Pat. And so I told David I'm going to text Pat all my last place teams because I'm sure he's really anticipating that text from me today. But we feel pretty strongly that the Giants will finish in last, that Atlanta will finish in last, that Chicago will finish in last, that Seattle will finish last, that the Jets will finish last, that the Texans will finish last. Now, AFC North, with Cleveland doing what they're doing, who knows what's going to happen in that division, in the AFC West.
And by the way, to the handful of Jags fans, all right, finish third, will you? Okay, stop any and all hype. You've won 4 total games the last 2 years. All right, don't start. You got a much harder schedule this year than last. Much, which shows just how much of a mess last year was. All right, win your 6 or 7 games and finish third. Okay? Could we start there before you start wondering and what's possible? How about that? That would be nice.
Same thing for anybody that's a Lions fan that's starting to believe that there's, start watching Hard Knocks and think they're going to make the playoffs. Be better than Chicago. Be better than the Bears. I think there's a lot of that this year. If you look at, with the teams that we were talking about, I was stunned that Pat was as optimistic on the Seahawks as he is. And I know he's close with Pete Carroll, but Pat doesn't use his personal relationships to pick divisions. He's just further down on the Niners and the Cardinals than maybe we are.
Well, he is bringing up hey, listen, are we sure about Trey Lance? And they don't have an insurance policy at all. At all. I mean, I'll say this. The Bears' backup quarterback's Trevor Siemian. That's a hell of a lot better than the Niners' backup situation. Nate Sudfeld? Seriously? I mean, Trevor Siemian at least can play in the league. Now, he can't win big, but he can play in the league. Nate Sudfeld has not proven he can play in the league. And you're a Super Bowl contender? I mean, Trey Lance filled in last year, went 1-1. Hey, the Niners made the playoffs in the very last play of the season last year. Okay, so going 1-1, if Trey Lance had gone 0-2, they don't make the playoffs. I mean, at least Trey Lance was good enough to, like we like to say, get the horse in the barn and then just hand it back to the guy.
I think we just feel a lot more strongly about the rest of that roster in San Francisco. At least I do, about what the Niners have for a roster behind Trey Lance compared to Seattle and even Arizona for that matter, because Arizona got worse. Arizona did not get better in the offseason.
Can I just say this about the Lions? All right. And sometimes I, especially of the two of us, focus way too much on schedules. But after they play the Bills on Thanksgiving, their schedule is the Jags and Vikings at home, the Jets and Panthers on the road, the Bears at home, and then at Lambeau. Again, 5 of their 6 are the Bears, the Panthers, the Jets, the Jags, and the Vikings at home. Usually when we're done watching the Lions game at 12:30 on Thanksgiving, we're like, well, this is the last time the Lions will play a semi-meaningful game, and usually it's meaningful for their opponent. Mark, it's been a long time since the Lions have finished strongly, but that schedule screams if we're a decent team, we can go 4-2 after Thanksgiving.
No, it screams that. Let me tell you something else that screams. Do you know how many road games the Lions won last year?
Well, they had 3 wins and a tie. The tie was on the road, so let me guess
The answer is
0.
0.
Okay.
The answer is 0. So
Right.
again, when you look at a team like the Jags or the Lions, just if you're starting the rebuild, be better than the other team that's bad in your division. How about winning 3 road games this year? How about pulling that off?
And you've got the Bears, the Giants, the Jets, and the Panthers on the road this year. Yeah, win 3 of those 4.
Right.
If you lose all the rest and you put either 3 and 5 or 3 and 6
6.
on the board, yeah, okay. All right. 3 and 6 on the road, what, 4 and 4? God forbid, 5 and 3 at home. Huh. That's 7-8 win season. That's
There you
pretty
go.
good. It's pretty good after 3-13-1.
There you go. So that to me, those are take some baby steps. Because everybody tries to find that one team, and yes, there will be a double-digit loss team that will have double-digit wins this year. There always is. And now with the 7 and 10s out there, there's even more teams that are possible of doing it.
Well, you have to figure Denver's a prime candidate, right? They went 7 and 10 with Drew Lock. Now they get Russell Wilson. I mean, that's got to be your favorite in the clubhouse, right?
Well, it's got to be, because the other ones in the AFC are the Jets, the Texans, and the Jags. In the NFC, the 10-loss teams are the Commanders, 7 and 10. The Seahawks and the Falcons were also 7 and 10. The Giants, double-digit loss team, the Bears and Lions, and the Panthers.
It's going to be tough. Get a double-digit loss to double-digit win in the NFC. Going to be tough. If it was between Carolina or Detroit as to which one could go from double-digit L's to double-digit W's, who would you bet on?
Oh, my goodness.
Obviously, you got to think of best-case scenarios, obviously. So
I bet on the
McCaffrey's
Commanders.
Okay.
If you want me to pick an NFC team, I'd pick the Commanders.
7 wins each of the last 2 years. So, you need to flip 3 games.
They have the division you could do it in. That's, to me, I can't see the Lions going from 3 wins and 13 losses to 10 wins. I just can't see it.
Carolina would have to double their win total. They have to go from 5 to 10. Miller and Moulton on this Friday. Deshaun Watson, the focus of our poll question. From every time I've looked at the results, Mark, it seems that 90% or thereabouts feel that the punishment was, put it this way, not too harsh. Not too harsh. 11 games was the settlement. It's important to note that. They settled on 11. All right. The former New Jersey Attorney General never ruled. It'll be interesting to find out how it is he would have ruled if they didn't settle. And will we ever find that out? This was a plea bargain between the NFLPA and the NFL.
One of the key parts of it, as you brought up earlier, David, is the 11 games allows 6 games for Watson. So that means he gets his service time. And that to the union's a big deal. So he gets his full season towards pension and all of those things by playing 6 games this year.
And so this way next year, his salary is $46 million, fully guaranteed, and will be for 4 years after that. Think the Browns recover from this? And I don't just mean this year.
I don't know, David, because I think I told this story on the air, but I had a Browns fan I was talking to at Westhoff's book signing. And he converted to a Bengals fan, a lifelong Browns fan. Now, he said he'd been sick of them and sick of the way they run the franchise, and he grew up 10 minutes from where Joe Burrow did. So there was a connection to seeing his high school and on that he likes Joe Burrow. And as you've said, David, we could all use a Joe Burrow. But I talked to another Browns fan yesterday. They're pissed. I mean, they're angry. They didn't even like the signing, a lot of them, because of how this whole thing has come down. They'll recover because it's an NFL team, but I don't know if it's next year. And what happens? Watson, 2 years out of playing football. How good's he going to be?
I'm not worried about Deshaun Watson as much as I'm worried about Myles Garrett and Nick Chubb. You're going to waste 2 prime years of their careers, last year and this year, because of you being a mess somehow, some way. Not all of it of your doing, but much of it of your doing. And I'm just because here's the other thing, Mark. Haslam is going to have to be willing to write off these 2 years. He's been firing coaches and GMs like crazy. So will he be able to start next year and wipe that blackboard clean? Like first day of school and you walk in, you go, oh, wow, look at that blackboard. You could tell they washed that. They got the soap and water out and they washed that. There is no evidence at all of the school year that ended 10 weeks ago. I mean, are Haslam and the Browns going to be willing to do that if this year now goes the way we think it is, like 7-10?
I don't think he'll have a choice. I do get the point you made that he's fired a lot of coaches, but I think they have to just sit and take this year as a wash. I don't know what else you do from an organizational standpoint, and you just start fresh next year.
But you know what I mean about starting fresh. When you start fresh, you basically have 2 years of amnesia. And so you're starting 2023 like it's 2021. I mean, if you're running this organization properly, you need to go, listen, 2021 just happened. 2022 was a mess of our own making. In theory, if I'm all in on this GM and all in on this coach, I might as well just go back, watch that playoff win over the Steelers again, and pretend that that's where we are. Only now we've upgraded at quarterback. Let's go.
I think that they will, but it is the Browns, David, so all bets are off on competency and how this thing's run, because Haslam, as you said, has not been patient with any of his regimes thus far. Why they would be after this one, even though they should, it's the question we'll find out.
For those in Lake City, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice, thanks so much for listening. Have a great Friday and a terrific weekend. For those in Southwest Florida, well, you know the drill. The bonus hour is next. Vote on our poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, FloridaSportsNetwork.com, the Deshaun Watson penalty. Too strong, too little, just right.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the two together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Napa Auto Parts, 1820 Boy Scout Road, 1220 Vizcaya Parkway in Cape Coral, 532 Pine Island Road in Fort Myers, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard in Fort Myers, and 17284 San Carlos Boulevard on Fort Myers Beach.
And don't forget about the Napa location in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail. Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Can I help you? No.
I gotta show off the fresh cut. Really?
No. He comes running in here so he can dance in front of the camera. I can't encourage this. You have to shut this down. You can't have any control unless you have control. And right now, we lack control of this one.
Johnny Mac, we wanted to check out his receding hairline. Wow, off the top rope, Johnny.
David, you'd have loved it. I get to call you. I get the picture yesterday from where the seats are. So the seats are outstanding for this gymnastics thing.
Okay.
And she's basically right on the floor. It's like 8 rows back.
Okay.
And so she's telling me, because yesterday was the men's, juniors, and then the men. And so she's telling me, so-and-so was right there. He was like 3 feet away. And I'm, okay. No, you know who I'm talking about. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, come on. I've talked about it. I've showed you. He was at Michigan. He was a gymnast there. Now he's a coach. Yeah. Uh-huh. You don't know who I'm talking about, do you? I don't have a clue, honey. I mean, I was actually guilted out of, while she tells me all about this gymnastic stuff, I don't listen. And she just figured it out yesterday while telling me all about this gymnast coach. So she was all fired up.
Well, she can't get mad at you. You gave her the gift.
Oh, she's so happy. This will be great because we'll just skip by my birthday next week, and that's fine by me. Just don't care.
Juancho Felipe said it was much harder than he thought.
Yeah, man. It is a little difficult, but I'll get there. As the game progressed, I sounded a little better, so I'm sure as the season progresses, I'll get used to it.
Do you have game 2? Are you
Yeah.
still hired for game 2?
Yes. We're coming back now. I'll talk to you more about it later.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Bonus hour on this Football Friday, the last one in which there is no football that counts in the standings this weekend. A week from now. And not only that, I think a week from today, high school football starts in earnest. I know you got the whole jamboree thing. That doesn't count. It doesn't count in the standings. Sorry. I know you're going to sell hot dogs and charge for parking and what have you, and that's fine. They do that in August in the NFL. It doesn't count except for what? The injuries. So it starts for real next week. It counts in the standings.
Did you have the jamboree type thing in Jersey?
No.
I was blown away when I moved to Florida. First off with spring high school football and then the jamborees. It was very obvious to me over 20 years ago when I moved to Florida. In fact, it was painfully obvious. It was the first thing I noticed. And I got here and came down to start the Everblades, and I'm all gung-ho about what we're doing. And the first fall comes, or not even the first spring comes, and they're playing spring ball. I kind of scratched my head a little bit and went, high school spring ball, huh? There's a reason why all these 3, 4, 5-star kids are coming out of Florida and Texas and places that do that, because it wasn't even a thought in Michigan. Not a thought, let alone a jamboree for a preseason game in the fall, David.
Well, how in the world can we have spring football in the Northeast when the starting quarterback's playing shortstop on the baseball team? I mean,
or he's just finishing March Madness and on his basketball team. Exactly.
Right. I mean, come on now, you're getting in the way. I mean, and besides the whole, body needs the rest thing, right? No, apparently not. Once you get south of, North Carolina, apparently. So
that always threw me when I first moved here over 20 years ago, almost 25 now.
I am with you. Listen, you could tell I'm from out of town originally because I surveyed the high school football scene and all of the lightning and rain delays in the first third of the season and thought to myself, well, why don't we just push this back? I mean, can't we do it when it's, not as hot, not as stormy? I mean, it's a crazy idea, I know. In fact, I'll even go further nuts. How about we switch a season? Why don't we do basketball first, indoors air conditioning? Okay, you can play that if it's stormy and it's raining. And then how about we play football? Now, I know from a recruiting standpoint, it would send colleges. Guess what? They would change the recruiting schedule. They would. They would change National Signing Day. If you move football to November through January, trust me, they'll move signing day. In Florida, if Florida and Texas got together and said, why are we battling these storms? Why don't we just switch the whole basketball football thing? Yeah, it'll hurt basketball because some of the football players actually go play basketball once football's over. But I don't know what to tell you. We're like the NCAA. It's all about football. We don't care about the other 23 sports. So we'll do football when it's convenient, when it's very comfortable in the stands, by the way. Comfortable. Oh, people will be thrilled to come to the games. There's no lightning. There's no storms. There's no sweating. In fact, hell, by late in the season, somebody might actually have to wear a light jacket. It'll be so comfortable. You know what it'll feel like? Football weather.
Well, to people up north. Now, down here, football, they walked out of their house this morning and went, Ooh, starting to feel like football weather. I mean, that humidity, my shirt
Right.
stuck. By the time I
Yep.
got to my truck today, this feels like football weather.
Boy, I'll tell you, it's going to be a hot one. You're going to have your conditioning in for second half. Yep. So actually, the storm thing, though, I always felt bad for the first 4 weeks, especially of the high school football season, all through September. Last weekend in August and all through, I mean, really, it's half the season. I mean, every Friday night was a crapshoot.
And
An
I know you
absolute
suggested
crapshoot.
playing on Saturday mornings or Saturday days, and that gets the whole Pop Warner culture because all
Exactly,
the
right.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
You don't know the upheaval that David Moulton has caused in
Exactly.
his 20 years in this market trying to come up with a solution so Friday nights don't take 6 hours to play a football game.
It is true, though. I mean, the junior varsity Pop Warner schedule, it starts on Thursday and it goes through Saturday, sometimes even into Mondays. And I understand, and they have a shortage of officials, so it is a problem. If games have to get rescheduled, it causes problems. I get it.
That is the one thing I would say. This is our PSA for referees. If you actually have any interest in ever reffing football, they need you.
Oh, boy, did they need you.
And those that do it will help train. They get you started, and they're all for more referees because they need them desperately, not just in this market, pretty much in every market in the country.
I mean, this is how badly they need you. Parents are seriously considering not yelling at you anymore. Now, they're not doing it yet. They're not pledging not yelling at you, but they're seriously considering not yelling at you. They understand the officiating shortage is that severe. They're talking about it amongst themselves. Eventually, they get around to cursing at you because they can't help themselves. But right now, they're actually, it's kind of like, Mark, the board of directors that got together yesterday talking about separating themselves from the rest of the NCAA for football. That's what parents are now doing all throughout the country. They're actually having the random meetings going, do we have to start being nicer to the officials? Because apparently nobody wants this job that pays $50 and a couple of hot dogs to put up with our crap. I mean, I can't believe it. I know. We did it. We did it for $15 and a couple of hot dogs. These guys won't do it for $50 nowadays. And then they start complaining about the officials and what they won't work for. So it once again, they end up yelling at the officials. But I mean, that's how bad the shortage is. They're willing to consider not yelling at you anymore. So put it this way, by the time you're a ref for about 10, 12, 15 years, they'll stop yelling at you. Because about 2035 is when fans will realize, we need to stop yelling at the officials. So I think it's something worth signing up for. I mean, as you can tell, it's a great deal. I mean, the pay's great. And by great, I mean lousy. And the working conditions, once again, it's all for the kids. I mean, it's all for the kids. I mean, certainly the parents realize that. So you will as well. It's all about the kids. But in all seriousness, all right, it's actually, I loved being an umpire. I thought, I mean, $10, $15 and a couple hot dogs. And I laughed at what parents yelled at me. I did. I actually found it funny.
Well, you and I are cut from a different cloth, that either laughing or just some sarcastic comment, because I coached old high school age kids in hockey. And the guy I coached, we were both in our 20s when we coached. We were good. And we'd walk right past the parents. Need to talk to you about my kid. It would almost laugh. It's like, no, we're going to coach how we coach. We're going to play the kids that are the best players. And you guys just sign the checks over. That's all we're really worried about. Just pay for the ice time. That's really all that matters at this point.
Right. And if you want to get rid of me, that's fine. I mean, I'm
I'm
just
not
doing
getting paid to do this anyhow.
Right.
I'm volunteering.
David, you kind of look like an umpire. You look like a behind the plate umpire who can just take one on the chest,
Dude, can we translate what he just said in English?
Yeah, you're fat.
Okay.
No,
Thank you,
man.
No,
That's
that's exactly what he said.
It was
exactly. Notice he said
compliment.
right. Notice he said home plate umpire. I mean,
Right.
implying even more baggage.
And he was giving you he basically, even though he's not old enough to remember, he was giving you the old American League umpire where you're wearing
Totally.
the big chest protector.
Yeah. You said you were an umpire, and I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. You know
Oh,
what?
yeah.
He doesn't know who I'm about to reference. He thinks I'm Ron Luciano. Okay?
All right, hold on.
From the 70s, look him up.
Yes.
Okay, got the old American League chest protector. All right, bigger guy, had a little belly. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Large melon.
Yep.
And large melon, right? Flowing hair, which became gray, kind of like me. Right. Yeah, Ron Luciano. And by the way, big personality, gregarious. Okay. When he threw you out of the game, he let you yell at him for another couple minutes because he would then occasionally yell back.
All the pictures I'm seeing of him are just him yelling at people.
Yes. Funny guy, by the way. Always agreed to be mic'd up. Ron Luciano would be our This Week in Baseball ump once or twice a year when they would show some footage of, By the way, I don't like the fact that everybody's mentioning umpires who all died of heart attacks. Okay, don't be mentioning John McSherry and Eric Gregg. They dropped dead. Okay, because they were so fat. All right, I mean, come on. At least mention somebody who,
It's just tough love, David. It's just tough love.
I mean, come on, trust me. I just walked through a press box last night. I ain't as fat as you think. Let me tell you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm fat.
Even in Seattle, where they're supposed to all be in shape and outdoorsy people, huh?
Are you kidding? Okay, they're in the media. All right? No, they're fat.
You know how
I had to tell Aikman again yesterday how much he sucks. And he kind of looks at me because he just spent the whole offseason working out. I mean, if you thought he looked good at the end of the season last year, you should see him now. I mean, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting how good he looks. We're 11 months apart. I'm telling you, it's Danny DeVito and Schwarzenegger in the movie. I mean, that's what we are, side by side.
And so number 10 is what I think.
And so I just tell him, man, you're easy to hate. He's like, why is that? I go, well, look at you. I go, what are the rest of us supposed to do? And there were like a couple of the guys on the crew, and they all lost like 15, 20 pounds. They look good. Ed and Bill look good. Okay, Joe's spotters look good. They did what you're supposed to do during the offseason. Okay, me, not so much. All right, they look good. And I said, look at them. Look how good they look. He goes, they do look good. I go, not standing next to you, they don't. I go, you're making it really hard. And so he, of course, looked right at me and said, well, why don't you get your fat you-know-what in shape? Shut up.
Hey,
Dadgum, good point, Troy.
Yeah.
If you want to look good, stand next to Miller and Moulton next Friday at the Napa Auto Parts store in 1820 Boy Scout. We will be doing our show live from 6 to 10, and then Chase Elliott is going to show up at 11 a.m. and sign autographs. If you want to get an autograph, the best thing to do would be to get to one of the 6 area Napa Auto Parts store, 2 in Fort Myers, 1 in North Fort Myers, 1 on the beach, 1 in Cape Coral, and 1 in Punta Gorda. Sign up. You'll get your chance to skip the line by signing up anytime. They're going to draw next week for all of the winners. We will be at the Napa Auto Parts on Boy Scout on Friday, 6 to 10. Chase Elliott will be there at 11. But if you want to look good, you'll look good being next to a champion NASCAR driver, because anytime you're next to a champ, you look good. Where you'll look better is standing next to Miller and Moulton.
Right.
Take that picture, show that to your wife, and say, see, I'm in shape.
Don't I look good, honey? These are the 2 yahoos you hear when you get in the car. Are they as fat and ugly as you thought they'd be? Huh. More? Okay, good. Nice to know. I'll tell them next time I see them.
Miller and Moulton, we thank you so much for listening to Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, 25 minutes away right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the two together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Napa Auto Parts, 1820 Boy Scout Road, 1220 Vizcaya Parkway in Cape Coral, 532 Pine Island Road in Fort Myers, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard in Fort Myers, and 17284 San Carlos Boulevard on Fort Myers Beach.
And don't forget about the Napa location in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail. Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I've said before how badly I'd like to tee someone up. I don't know if I want to tee someone up more or call someone out looking on a strikeout. Because I would just go ham.
Round is the shape. I agree with that.
You know what's really awful is I was with the Orange Whip guys yesterday getting a little lesson.
Okay.
And they video everything. And then when you're looking at yourself in the video next to someone who's really in shape, because Brian's in phenomenal shape, the owner of the company. I hate him. And then you're seeing your own fat ass next to him. It is just pathetic. Although it was at Fort Myers Country Club, so the good news is I kept the shirt untucked the whole time because if you're at the fort. Send you a check. I don't want to say, why can't I just Venmo you, dude? Oh, I got to go to Jack's paycheck. Pay cash. Any interest in a weekly NFL pool or a suicide pool, David?
Sure.
It's only
Sure.
100. It's 100 for the year for the pick 'em.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in it.
Want to split it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we are Friday. Got to bring the old camera, the big one.
Oh, that's a good camera. That camera's like really good, actually.
It's a 4K. I think. No, it's HD, but it's a high end
It's
camera.
a damn good camera, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be great if I actually was one of those dads that filmed my kids' games. I'd have that sucker out all the time.
Yeah.
Phone works just as good though.
David and Mark,
Yes.
really, are you guys fans of in a soccer game when they announce every shot?
I've never
No.
been to a soccer game.
No.
I mean, I never have.
Okay, but David, no, you're not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that either.
No.
And that's what she wants.
Ken Kavanaugh, that's what he wants. The athletic director.
Every shot you're supposed to announce.
Every
it.
shot, I'm supposed to announce who shot it and the save and the goalie's name. I'm like, why?
So after it takes place?
Yeah, after the shot takes place.
So you're not doing play-by-play. You're just saying the shot on goal by, Holly Hunter.
Yeah.
Here would be my argument back to him. Not argument. Here's would be my compromise.
Yes.
This is a little hockey thing. But Craig Jenkins, who's the best PA announcer I've ever been around in my life, I worked with in Atlanta.
Mhm.
If it was a big save by our goalie, he would always do a save. It was J.C. Bergeron, which was a good use. Save by J.C. Bergeron. That's all he'd do. The crowd would go nuts. So I think the save by the home goalie, you could do that.
I think the saves are more important to announce than the shots.
Now, I think, and I would always, if he wants both, because I know what he wants to do is recognize the kids. That's what he's trying to do, is
Right.
get their names out there.
Like, there was this one shot that was off, but it was from long, so I was like, shot from way outside, just off by Ashley LeBay.
Yeah, go watch Brockmeyer. That's all you're doing. You're doing a combination play-by-play. Then that's what he wants. He wants almost fake play-by-play half the time.
Gotcha. Brockmeyer's really good.
I've watched 4 episodes. The first one, I couldn't stop laughing. Each one, I laughed a little less after.
No, Archangel, I'd be like one of those like Dominican umpires who just starts like breakdancing when someone strikes out. He does the J.R. Smith wind up 3 thing.
Someone texted Angel Moulton, David. That's a...
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Our poll question, Deshaun Watson, the settlement, this was negotiated. Did the two sides get it right? Too little, too much, just right. Those are the choices. It's like porridge. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, floridasportsnetwork.com and vote. The one thing that the early voting has shown is that 90+% of you do not think that it was, well, too harsh. You think it was either just right or actually too little. Seen 8 to 12% have been the varying results that I've seen. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com and vote. We didn't spend a lot of time on this. I just want to spend a couple minutes if we could. Now that the whole Big Ten negotiation is over, and there's no ESPN of any kind after this year, zip, zilch, none. Do you think there will be a negative part of the deal, or will it only be a positive?
Well, I think there's got to be a little negative part of it, because I do think I'll be curious, David, to see the numbers from game day versus the Fox pregame show, just how dominant game day is, because if we look at it the way golf's done it with the Live Tour, how much is ESPN going to just shut out talking about the Big Ten? How many Big Ten previews are they going to do? How many sideline stories? Of that 3-hour show, how much time do you expect the Big Ten to get during that 3-hour show?
Well, it's a fascinating question for this reason. When they do deals and it's like involving soccer or it's hockey, the 15 years that they ignored the NHL. Well, let's face it, it's a minor sport on the grand scheme of things. I mean, it may generate $5 billion in revenue, but in terms of a television audience, very rarely does a regular season hockey game generate even 1 million people on a weeknight on network television. No more than 2+ million if they get a prime weekend slot and they give you 2 original 6 teams. This is the Big Ten, though, Mark. I mean, this is the conference that has the most eyeballs. You can argue the Pac-12 and the Olympic sports or the SEC as a whole are better conferences on the field, and you could probably win the argument. But in terms of the television game, people watching the sports on television, they watch more Big Ten sports than they watch SEC or any other conference. You're ESPN. You're in the business of getting people to watch you. But you're also in bed with a conference that doesn't want you to do anything to help the conference that the most eyeballs will actually watch you from. Like, for instance, after this year, how many times do you think game day ends up at a Big Ten venue?
0. And maybe Ohio State. I don't think game day visits the Big Ten for a couple of years. I don't. And
Well,
I think Ohio State will be fine, obviously, but because they're going to talk about Ohio State, because Ohio State's always going to be a top 5 team. They just are. But how much Wisconsin, Minnesota talk are you going to get? How much Michigan State talk are you going to get? I don't think you're going to get very much, David. And I don't think they're showing up at the Minnesota campus for a battle for an axe.
I forget the exact year, but when ESPN was beginning to turn and change and become all SEC at times, there was a game day, and Gary and I were in a hotel room. I think it was in Atlanta, and we were watching it separately from our respective rooms. And at one point, Gary called me, and we're like 80 minutes into game day. And he just said, "Hey, you watching game day?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You've been watching it from the beginning?" I go, "Yeah." He said, "Did I miss something? Because I got a phone call. Have they talked the Big Ten at all yet?" And I go, "No, not once." Now, that was then. They had contracts with the Big Ten. And they had just gone the first 80 minutes of game day and not talked about them once. So now that they don't have a contract beginning in a year, I agree with you. They'll still talk Ohio State and Michigan. And if somebody else is hot, they might mention them. But you're right. Of the soon-to-be 16 teams, and they'll talk USC.
And USC, yes, obviously.
But it's basically Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, USC. They'll play the hits. Anybody else, they're going to have to be 7-0 to get, but here's the problem for you if you're ESPN. You don't want to lose their audience. And they'll notice right away, wow, they're not talking about us at all. And if you stop coming, at least once a month, ESPN would do game day from a Big Ten city. Okay, if all of a sudden, right, and if all of a sudden you're not doing that, okay, they'll leave you. And once they leave you, it's really hard to get them back, especially since you're not showing any of their sports.
Whereas the Fox pregame show is going to be a Big Ten infomercial. It will be.
Yes, absolutely. It'll be a Big Ten infomercial when they're showing a Big 12 game at noon. And CBS next year might be showing a couple of Big Ten games at noon. That'll be rich, by the way. What I hope, just because I'm a twisted person sometimes, and I get into this whole nooks and crannies behind the scenes, there will be a handful of CBS noon games probably leading into the SEC on CBS at 3:30.
I know where you're going with
I
this.
just want one of them to go really long.
Little over.
And I just want
take it to about 4:15, 4:20.
I just want to know, what in the world are we going to do?
Is Alabama playing? I'd cut to the Alabama game.
Well, that's just, I wonder, what in the world are we going to do? I think it's like, I'm guessing it'll be like the NFL, where the NFL contractually at a certain time, if the game, in which, we've all been watching, and at 4:13, they break away and they go to the studio and, they say, per contractual reasons, we can't show you the end of this, we'll show you the highlights, and they come back, they show you a couple highlights, and they try to keep you into it. And you're like, well, wait a minute, why am I not watching the game? Well, contractually in your market, we have to send you the Dolphins playing the Bills at 4:20. My guess is it'll be something like that, but that's what I'm hoping for, Mark. Just one of those instances. 2007, I think it was. We, as in Vern and Gary, were doing Florida State in the Swamp. And the noon game was Tennessee at Kentucky. If Tennessee won, they won the East. And they went to Atlanta. The game went triple overtime. So at 3:38, when it's kickoff time, apparently what was happening was the country was watching Tennessee and Kentucky go to overtime. And in the state of Florida, you got Florida and Florida State. But because of master control, which is basically where commercials run from, we did over an hour commercial free of Florida State. because the country was getting the commercials and everything in Kentucky, Tennessee. We knew the whole state of Florida was watching us, but we couldn't run an ad. It was spectacular. Over an hour commercial free on network television. That's what I'm envisioning. Maybe something like that happens next year. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, I don't envision 30 minutes without commercials with what they just paid for all of this, David.
No.
Hey, I can assure you, as Andrew Brandt says, there will be lawyers. I can assure you of this, David. There will be commercials.
Yeah, in the noon game that goes overtime. I'm just talking about the 3:30 game. Remember, they got that for a song.
Miller and Moulton. Vote on the poll question. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or FL Sports Network, talking about Deshaun and the suspension. Was it just right? Was it too long? Was it too little? Those are the three choices on today's poll question. Today was a day when the good, the bad, and the ugly. And what's on tap? Still next, right here, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
If you own 6 Southwest Florida Napa stores and were a big NASCAR fan, wouldn't you put the two together?
How about bringing Chase Elliott to Fort Myers?
Friday, August 26th, Chase Elliott will sign autographs at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive in Fort Myers beginning at 11 a.m.
The best way to get in line, stop by one of the 6 family-owned Napa Auto Parts stores. Napa Auto Parts, 1820 Boy Scout Road, 1220 Vizcaya Parkway in Cape Coral, 532 Pine Island Road in Fort Myers, 532 Pine Island Road in North Fort Myers, 4175 Palm Beach Boulevard in Fort Myers, and 17284 San Carlos Boulevard on Fort Myers Beach.
And don't forget about the Napa location in Punta Gorda at 1810 Tamiami Trail. Sign up for your chance to meet and get an autograph with Chase Elliott.
Coming Friday, August 26th at the Napa store on Boy Scout Drive starting at 11 a.m. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com, flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
What the hell is Detroit Mercy, by the way?
University of Detroit.
Oh, it is just the University of Detroit.
Yep.
But what's with the Mercy? Is that a
They
Catholic
changed
thing?
Detroit. Yeah. It's a Jesuit school, I believe.
Gotcha. The Titans.
Yes.
Did you have like friends that went there?
My buddy got his went there for med school.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Or no, he went to Wayne State for med school. I think UAD's got a dental school.
By the way, Hard Knocks this year interest you at all?
It does. I just don't have HBO, so I don't.
Dude, I got you. I'll log into my HBO for you, man. Hard Knocks is awesome.
Yeah, I actually thought about spending the $15 for the month just to watch it, and then dumping HBO.
The prices are only going up. I hate it. It's terrible.
I just don't watch. I watch so little TV now that it's just not worth it for me to get those movie channels.
Okay. When's the first streaming service to go the dollar menu route, to go the Falcons at Mercedes-Benz Stadium with the cheapest concession prices?
What do you mean?
I think it's kind of Hulu, though.
That in which, like, all of these, the prices are going up, 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 and up. Who's the first one to go, you know what, $4.99 a month? Boom.
I think that's Hulu and Peacock because...
Well, and I was going to say YouTube TV is the one that's trying to advertise being super cheap.
The thing is with Hulu and Peacock, though, is that it's cheap, but it has ads.
Yep.
There's a plus version that you can pay for no ads. That's more, but you can still get.
But
cheap
think about
streaming.
that, Felipe. See, I think that's what you do. You say to people, hey, if price is what you're making your streaming decisions about, then we'll offer you $5 a month. If you are like, no, I buy Sirius because I don't want the commercials. Oh, okay, then you pay $9.99 a month or $13.99 or whatever it is. I think you give them the two choices. And then you can't bitch if you make the choice.
No, it's true. I mean, that's what a lot of these. I think Paramount Plus does the same thing.
Yeah, but Trenton, what we're talking about is that there's now a trend that has started in which they're losing 5 to 8% of their business every month. People are pulling away from the streaming services. And the number one reason is price. So I'm just wondering, when do they go the dollar menu route?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't have that problem. I live in an apartment with 2 other dudes, so we just combine all our forces and make one super TV.
Oh no, that's all. I mean, I took care of my kid because he got my Netflix, he got my Apple Music.
Yeah.
And he was pimping off all my DirecTV stuff, which I still let him do. But Apple Music, I just got a new Verizon deal. They give me Apple Music.
There you go.
So his Apple Music, the family plan, went away.
I'm a fan of Apple Music.
I love it.
I like it more than Spotify.
I never was a Spotify guy, though. I was a Pandora guy first.
Right, because
and I know Spotify, you can do the same thing as Apple Music and download all the songs and all that. But
my mom loves Pandora. She just throws on John Mayer written radio.
Yep.
All the time.
It was, it's just impossible to get new music. I mean, to find new music. If you get so pigeonholed into the algorithms, especially when you start thumbs up in songs and thumbs down in songs, it's good. And I actually paid for Pandora for a while for their premium service, so I got no commercials.
Right. See, I just have like a super gigantically enormous playlist that I just get in my car and press shuffle.
I do it with all my songs. I just tell everybody, like, I'll play golf today. When you're in my car, I show everybody where the fast forward button is, because I've got Christmas songs on there, and I've got a lot of jazz. And I'm like, if it's jazz or Christmas, just hit fast forward if I'm not in the cart. If you don't like the song, just hit fast forward. Because I will say, when hip hop comes on in the cart, the old white guys get a little freaked out.
Yep. See, I have multiple playlists. I have one playlist that's called Dribble Moves, and I only play it when I play basketball.
I have a couple that are golf playlists that for the old white guys, to make sure we get a lot of Chicago in there.
There you go.
Chicago's pretty soothing on the golf course, David.
Not for me. I hate it. Drives me nuts.
What's that?
Music on the course?
No, I love music on the course. Chicago.
You don't like Chicago?
Not
the Peter Cetera.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
The home stretch of Miller and Moulton on this Friday. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We'll get to the good, the bad, and the ugly. What's on tap today was the day when, with our final thoughts coming up in just a bit. If I could continue a discussion that we had last segment for another couple minutes. In all seriousness, game days never shown up on campus and not been welcomed. Here's the other danger that I think, if you're ESPN, you're starting to get into, beginning in 2023. I mean, because of Herb Street and Desmond, you can probably show up at Columbus and Ann Arbor and not get too much grief. But, I mean, you know how things are now, Mark. I mean, and then you got the Barstool crowd and people are worked up. I mean, people like to chant and signs and all that. And you're in college. Come on, we all remember when we were that age. We would do stuff that you look back on now and go, wow, that was embarrassing, or that wasn't very nice. I mean, game day doesn't, because once you set up, by the way, you're there. It's not like you can go away. Okay, and if all of a sudden there's this divide between the Big Ten and ESPN, and the Big Ten fans start to think that ESPN is simply the SEC only, even though they're the ones that divorced ESPN they're going to be looking at their ex-wife, so to speak, and go, how come she's not nice to me at the holidays? And then they could show up at one of the holiday dinners, get a couple drinks in them, and start to tell them how they really feel.
I think you're onto something. I got this text during the break. ESPN loses me completely. Big Ten fans go to Fox pregame. I've been watching that one for a few years over Game Day. Actually, I think Game Day is nothing more than an SEC infomercial. This is from a Big Ten alum from the University of Wisconsin. This was a personal text. For some reason, he couldn't text the normal line. So you know how that goes, David. When they can't get through the normal line, they text us.
Well, but think about that. So let's just say Wisconsin's 7-0, and they're hosting Michigan in late October. First off, it's perfect time of year to go and do one of those shows in the fall and football in Wisconsin. And not only that, it's Michigan, the audience, and you want to go. Okay, makes sense. And the audience may be, and first off, there's a very good chance Fox's pregame is also going to be there. Okay, so
really good chance.
Right. So now, and you will be promoting the game that's going to air at noon on Fox. I mean, that's the other thing, Mark. For 40 years, Big Ten football fans, Mark, you joked about it forever. At noon on ESPN2, growing up and in your young adulthood, what game did you watch at noon on ESPN2?
I watched my Spartans play on ESPN2 with Beth Mowens. That was pretty much the rite of passage.
Pam Ward.
Yeah.
Right.
Pam Ward,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Right. So now that this divorce has happened, okay, and you show up in Madison in late October, the Badgers are 7-0 and they're playing 6-1 Michigan, both ranked in the top 10, by the way. You should be there. Your game day. You go to the biggest game of the week, and this has got to be at the top of the list that week. And they may be like, get the blank out of here.
Well, you didn't even put into the fact that NBC's going all in with Saturday Night Football.
Right.
They're going to be at another Big Ten venue, setting up their whole pregame show.
One thing about that, I am interested. I know they're saying they're going to do it the way they do Sunday Night Football, but remember, they do an 80-minute pregame, and they are showing highlights from every game in the NFL that's been played that day from 7 to 8 o'clock, and then they do a 20-minute pregame before their kickoff. I mean, are they really going to do that? Because that's what they're doing for the NFL. I mean, are they going to put a 30, 40, 60-minute pregame in which they show highlights from all over the country?
Doesn't it sound like it would go if they're still going to throw 2:30 Notre Dame at us?
Which I wonder, by the way, if they'll move that to 3:30.
If they do, that takes news out of the equation, David. That's the only thing, and I don't think they would. 2:30 news pregame would be my bet. Remember, it's still NBC. They still going to affiliates still want to get their hour of news in.
I understand, but sometimes the networks get selfish, and sometimes they just say to the affiliates, "Hey, for 12 weeks a year, you don't have an early Saturday newscast."
Maybe.
So just a thought. That's the other part of the equation, and so to me, we'll know right away in 2023. And I think the Big Ten's made their decision. They're divorcing themselves from ESPN. And the fans will do what? They will be inclined to follow them. If you're ESPN, you can't lose the Big Ten audience. And then you got Greg Sankey over your shoulder going, what the hell are you doing talking about Minnesota and Wisconsin playing for the damn Axe? Shut the hell up.
Talk about Arkansas.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about the damn Egg Bowl. And then ESPN's like, well, then we turn game day into the SEC pregame show. We can't do 2-3 hour shows about one conference.
And Sankey's going to say, why the hell can't you?
Yeah. Who else are you going to talk about is what he's going to say.
Talk about the ACC is what he's going to say. Don't talk
about don't laugh. Don't laugh. I'm wondering if they're going to ignore the Big Ten. They can't do spend much more time on the SEC. I mean, they only got 16 teams in a couple of years, and you're doing 3 hours. I'm wondering what's the conference that's most likely to benefit from this.
They own the ACC network, David. It's got to be the ACC. It's got to be.
You would think, and it would really help ESPN in a strange way if the two Florida schools got their act together. Because now, instead of just talking about Clemson, they could talk about Clemson, Miami, and Florida State.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Today in 1909, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway opens. 1921, Ty Cobb becomes the fourth to get 3,000 hits. 1951, Bill Veeck sends Eddie Goodell to the mound. Walked on 4 pitches. He was the 3'7" person to bat for Veeck's St. Louis Browns that day. 1957, the New York Giants Board of Directors votes 8-1 to move their franchise to San Francisco in 1958. 1967, All You Need Is Love by the Beatles is number 1. 1979, David, we were all singing it. My Sharona, number 1 by the Knack.
Damn right.
It was a huge song. It's still a good song, by the way. 1984, Lee Trevino wins the PGA, 4 ahead of Gary Player and Lenny Watkins. Today in 1995, Mike Tyson returns to the ring after a 3-year prison sentence. He would DQ Peter McNeely in 89 seconds.
Yeah, Peter McNeely. It's like fighting one of us.
2001 at the Atlanta Athletic Club, David Toms wins the PGA, 1 ahead of Phil Mickelson.
Got up and down. Like he drove it in the rough, had to punch out, got up and down from like 130 yards to win a major. It was cool.
And in 2008, The Fame, the debut album of Lady Gaga, is released. Those born today that are no longer with us: Charlie Comiskey, Orville Wright, Malcolm Forbes, jockey Bill Shoemaker, drummer Ginger Baker, and Nate Dogg. Might have to listen to Regulate a few times today just because of that. Those that are still alive: Bill Clinton is 76, Tipper Gore is 74, Ned Yost is 67, Gary Gaetti is 64, as is Darryl Sutter. Morton Anderson and Rod Darling are both 62. Matthew Perry and Kirk Herbstreit are both 53. And Mary Jo Fernandez is 51 years old today. Any errors and omissions, Mr. Moulton?
Well, I have to admit, I was kind of doing something at the beginning, and the only thing I'm wondering, did you mention the Beatles in 64?
I did.
Okay, that was it. Nope.
You ever heard of Frank Ocean, Mark?
Yeah?
Frank Ocean? Well, his latest album, 2016, Blonde, came out today. That album is one of the best albums of the 2010s. Easily. It is a tour de force that sneaks up into your bloodstream. It is amazing.
Look at that description.
Wow.
Man.
Wow. Got to
Sneaks
download
up,
that today.
sneaks up into your bloodstream. Look, that's an endorsement.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
For the good, we go to the Boston Police Department, where Officer Joe Matthews came to the rescue, or maybe he didn't. Patrick Maloney was scheduled to get married on Thompson Island in the middle of Boston Harbor. The boat that was supposed to ferry him to the island where his bride-to-be was already waiting broke down. The groomsman, photographer, DJ, and floor arrangements were also all stuck on the mainland. Enter Officer Matthews, who transported more than a dozen people to the island on his police boat to save the marriage. If this ends up in divorce, it's not the fault of the police. That's all I'm saying. They did their job, David. That's above and beyond right there. For the bad, we go to Bonita Springs, where deputies are on the lookout for 3 suspects accused of stealing a wallet from a woman's purse at the Publix on South Tamiami Trail. I just every once in a while have to point out wallet stories where the wallet's still gone to make David think that his.
Thanks. No, I appreciate that. No, I do. I appreciate that.
And those of you who have seen the story, I'm guessing, I was going to go oysters for the ugly, because 2 people in Florida have died from eating oysters. And I love oysters. turns out the autopsy on one of the men discovered that he had some fentanyl and cocaine in his system. So maybe it wasn't the oyster. Good
You
day
think?
for the oyster, bad day for that guy. And that's the bad and the ugly on today, August the 19th, 2022.
Anne Hesh had the same combination in her. All right. Although they're wondering, was the fentanyl possibly administered by the hospital because of the injuries and what have you. But yeah, it's a bad combo, Mark.
It really is.
I mean, it's not ham and cheese. It's not peanut butter and jelly.
Hell, it's not even egg salad, and I hate egg salad.
There's more preseason football tonight. Don't know that's anything worth really, NFL Network, obviously. It's where all the preseason games are, with the exception of a few network games. Tomorrow, the Bucs and the Titans and the Dolphins host the Raiders for the local, so to speak, that are in action. A lot of good baseball. I mean, if you're into that sort of thing. Apple TV tonight is Blue Jays Yankees. But big series in Baltimore. If you're the Red Sox, you got to start winning these AL East series. I mean, come on. You're chasing everybody in front of you. You're 2.5 behind the Orioles, and they're 2.5 out of the playoffs. So do the math. You got to go into Baltimore, win 2 out of 3, get back to 500. And if you're the Orioles, you got to beat the teams behind you, right? So that's a nice little series. Mets are in Philadelphia. They play 4 because they play a doubleheader tomorrow. Break for the Phillies. They will not face either Scherzer or DeGrom in the 4-game set. So Phillies need to make some hay at home against the Mets, whose lead has been cut to 3.5. And Mark, is it a World Series preview in Atlanta, considering it's a World Series rematch? Houston at the Braves this weekend.
Well, I don't think it's a World Series preview. There's this team called the Dodgers that seem to have a little something going on, and I'll be stunned, even with a little bit of the injury news that they've had with Buehler being out and that going to continue. I still am going to take the Dodgers to go to the World Series. Golf going on at the BMW. None of the leaders tee off till this afternoon. And there's pretty good leaderboard there, and most of them teeing off a little later the day. Rory goes off at 11:30, but Bradley's off at 1. Like I said, most everybody on the leaderboard's off, so you'll be able to watch that this afternoon.
Rays, by the way, continue their home series against the Royals. Big chance for them to have a good weekend and make some hay and secure a nice, solid wild card spot. Marlins, speaking of the Dodgers, marker in LA to face the Dodgers.
And David, if you wanted to drive to Tampa, the USA Gymnastics championships are going on this weekend, just to let you know.
Mark,
just to close out that What's on Tap. That'll be on NBC Sunday night.
Mark, I hear you have great photos from that event on your phone because you have treated your wife, and this weekend it will be your wife and daughter, to the 4-day extravaganza.
Wife did it solo yesterday, all day yesterday, going with a friend today, then driving back tonight and taking the daughter for Saturday and Sunday. It's a get out of jail free card. It is just a party at the Miller house this weekend.
Bummer, I'm out of town.
Too bad it's not week 0. Then it would really be crazy.
You are going to need that a week from tomorrow. It'd be nice to be alone when Hawaii's hosting Vandy and you're not being bothered.
Everybody will be asleep by the time that game starts. When we're chasing that money, David, it's the one great thing about the Hawaii game. You're chasing by yourself. Everybody's in bed, and you're just sitting there reveling in the fact that you've got a nickel on Hawaii to cover to try to catch up with everything you've messed up on during the day.
And then you're doubling down at halftime because you won the first half. Right. All starts in 8 days, folks. Magic numbers. 8, 13, and 20. How about that?
Remember, if you missed any of the show, you can download the podcast at all of the usual places. We thank you so very much for listening. Had a pretty good week this week. If you missed any of the shows, David Sampson was absolutely tremendous earlier in the week. Pat Kirwan on the show today. Adam Rittenberg was excellent on the Big Ten stuff as well. So if you missed any of it, download at all the usual places. We'll be back on Monday morning, 6 a.m. bright and early to do it all over again. Have a great weekend from the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese